Deep in the woods, a hunting rifle is locked onto its target, a lone deer. Suddenly, a shot rings out, and the deer collapses. A man, sharply dressed in a tailored suit and polished leather shoes, slowly approaches the fallen animal. He finds himself in a silent, tense standoff with the shooter. The man is Soo-hyun, a top news anchor for BSN News, and the gunman is none other than his father-in-law, Ki-tae, the powerful chairman of the J Group. Lowering his weapon, the old man turns to Soo-hyun, his voice dripping with biting sarcasm. He remarks that in the face of life and death, even a mother deer would abandon her own dying fawn just to preserve her own life. To him, that is the raw nature of animals, and he believes a person can only become truly great by overcoming this primal instinct. Beneath these words, there is a clear metaphor for the brutal war between justice and the power of money. In response, Soo-hyun raises his own rifle and aims it directly at Ki-tae. With a thunderous bang, a second deer standing behind Ki-tae falls to the ground. This wasn't just a shot, it was Soo-hyun's official declaration of war against his father-in-law. Back at BSN, Soo-hyun is the lead anchor of his own show. The clock rewinds to one day before a tragic kidnapping occurred. Soo-hyun and his news team are deep diving into a massive bribery scandal involving Chairman Ki-tae and a politician named Hwang. 2 weeks prior, they had obtained a copy of J Group's secret slush fund records, which were being used to illegally manipulate elections. Now, both the police and the prosecution are frantically hunting for the whistleblower. Soo-hyun knows he must find the person holding the original documents before anyone else does. The informant is revealed to be manager Kim from the Royal Hotel. Kim is currently under investigation for bribing prosecutors himself. Not wanting to take the fall alone, he leaked the copies to Soo-hyun's team to shift the heat. Now, Soo-hyun's crew needs to get to Kim and convince him to hand over the originals. They decide that the scandal will be the lead story on tonight's news. Despite being pressured by the network's top executives to kill the story, the justice-driven and stubborn Soo-hyun pushes it live anyway. As expected, the brief 10-minute report acts like a fuse to a massive bomb. In an instant, powerful forces everywhere are left on edge, waiting for the fallout. Soo-hyun, who possesses a razor-sharp ability to read people's expressions, begins to suspect that a woman named Yeojin might be involved in the conspiracy. Once the broadcast ends, manager Kim, the owner of the original files, reaches out to Soo-hyun's team. He schedules a meeting for the following day to hand over the documents in person. At the same time, Yeojin senses the looming danger. She drives to an elevated parking garage, lost in thought, realizing that a much larger web of corruption is unfolding. Meanwhile, in the parking lot, Soo-hyun receives a threatening letter. He doesn't hesitate to call out the name Park. Park is a former colleague of Soo-hyun who was fired after taking bribes, an incident that led to the entire team being disbanded. Park seems to hold a dark, unspeakable secret about Soo-hyun, and he is using it as leverage to get his old job back. Infuriated, Soo-hyun knocks him to the ground before driving home. On the way, Soo-hyun is haunted by thoughts of the thin line between good and evil, questioning if he is still on the right path. When he arrives home, his kind-hearted wife seems to wash away his daily exhaustion. But deep within Soo-hyun lies a secret one that is both tender and violent. When logic collapses, both human nature and animal instincts explode in the dark of night. Late that night, Soo-hyun receives a message from Kim. Meet tomorrow at 11 a.m. at Building B of the Chemical Industrial Zone. Early the next morning, while out for a jog, Soo-hyun receives a mysterious phone call. He immediately hits the record button. This is the day the kidnapping takes place. After the call ends, he rushes home, changes his clothes, and heads out. Soo-hyun arrives at the desolate, abandoned industrial zone, unaware that he is being followed by his father-in-law's henchmen. Inside a decaying room, he spots several cigarette butts and concludes that Kim must be nearby. Sure enough, he successfully tracks Kim down. Turns out, these two have some serious history and bad blood between them. Right now, getting Kim to fully trust Soo-hyun is proving to be a massive challenge. Soo-hyun wants Kim's help to dismantle Ki-tae's powerful conglomerate and expose every layer of their corrupt network. But Kim is paranoid. He is at a point where he doesn't trust a single soul. He even suspects that this entire situation might be a trap set up by Soo-hyun and Ki-tae working together. In his mind, their goal is to recover the original documents and eliminate the malignant tumor standing in their way. To earn Kim's trust, Soo-hyun offers him a substantial amount of money, but Kim takes it a step further. He demands Soo-hyun's own son be handed over as a hostage. Hearing such an outrageous and heartless demand, Soo-hyun loses his temper and kicks Kim out of the car. However, it was all a ruse. Kim was just testing Soo-hyun's character to see if he was truly reliable. Just as Kim is about to hand over the original files, Ki-tae's henchmen suddenly swarm the location. Seeing Kim cornered, Soo-hyun doesn't hesitate. He floors the gas and charges in with his car to provide cover for Kim's escape. During the chaotic scuffle, Soo-hyun is suddenly hit with a taser and collapses, but Kim manages to slip away successfully. Back at Kitae's estate, his subordinates return with the news of their failure. Infuriated that Kim escaped, Kitae fires a shot in a blind rage. The bullet grazes his henchman's face and shatters a hole in the glass behind him. Meanwhile, Soo-hyun is knocked unconscious and left abandoned in his car. While out cold, he relives a deeply painful memory in his dreams. When he finally wakes up and sees his body covered in wounds, he quickly fixes his clothes and prepares to rush to the TV station. Suddenly, his phone rings. It's Kim, claiming he has found Soo-hyun's son. With his heart racing in panic, Soo-hyun sprints to the baseball field. Fortunately, it was a false alarm. His son hadn't been kidnapped by Kim. Overwhelmed with relief, he pulls his son into a tight hug. Nearby, a young boy named Junyoung watches the father and son from a distance. Soo-hyun quickly gathers his son to take him home, and at the boy's request, Junyoung joins them as well. Back at the house, it seems Soo-hyun's wife is harboring a secret of her own. While Soo-hyun is in the shower, she receives a mysterious call. She tells the person on the other end to wait for her word, looking visibly shaken as if she is being threatened. Suddenly, Soo-hyun receives a message about a high-profile charity gala happening tonight. Driven to uncover the truth, he decides to go and see what's really going on. The family brings Junyoung along to the event, which is a massive gathering of South Korea's elite politicians and business tycoons. In this room, Soo-hyun feels like public enemy number one. The tension is thick as the son-in-law and father-in-law, now bitter rivals, face off. They even go as far as placing a bet on who will be the first to capture Kim. From the shadows, Kim is silently watching everyone, still leaving behind his signature cigarette butts as a calling card. Near the entrance, a drunken Hwang rants about the true nature of the Republic of Korea. In his twisted view, Korea is a survival of the fittest nation that also knows how to be tolerant. After his outburst, he drives off in a fit of rage. As the gala's official speeches begin, Kitae takes the stage to a round of applause. His words are heavily laced with metaphors. He claims that if the royal scandal were ever exposed, the entirety of South Korea would grind to a halt. The elite guests assume he is just making a joke and burst into laughter. Meanwhile, Soo-hyun is visibly restless and anxious, appearing to be waiting for someone. Suddenly, Kitae pivots his speech to discuss his will, a move that clearly unnerves his mistress. At that exact moment, one of his henchmen enters and whispers something into his ear. Kitae abruptly leaves the hall, and seeing this, Soo-hyun immediately tails him, making sure to tell his son to stay close to his mother. Right then, Soo-hyun gets another call from Kim. Kim demands a new ID, a new car, and 100 million won in cash. Whether it's Soo-hyun or Kitae, Kim doesn't fully trust either man. He is simply playing both sides and placing his bets. To keep the upper hand, Kim continues to use Soo-hyun's son as a threat. On a road near the gala, Kitae's men finally catch up to Kim. During the violent struggle, Kim manages to break free and throws himself off the mountainside. Back inside the hall, chaos erupts as Kitae's mistress frantically runs around, desperately searching for Kitae's daughter. The tension escalates as Kitae's mistress corners Eun-soo, interrogating her on whether she knows anything about the will. Meanwhile, back at the gala hall, Soo-hyun is desperately searching for any sign of Kim when he stumbles upon a familiar clue: the cigarette butts Kim always leaves behind. Following a secluded path, he finds the messy remains of a violent struggle that had just taken place. At the same time, the mistress slips into a hidden room and finally discovers the will. Her eyes widen as she reads the property certificate. Everything has been left to Kitae's grandson, Yeon-woo. Filled with greed, she swears that she will never let anyone else lay a hand on that fortune. But she isn't alone. Hwang's wife is lurking in the shadows, witnessing the entire scene. Back at the party, Eun-soo realizes with horror that her son is missing and races home in a panic. Kim calls Soo-hyun to talk, but the conversation is toxic. Kim is convinced that Soo-hyun is framing him and vows to utterly destroy the anchor's life. Suddenly, the lights in the gala hall go completely black. In the darkness, Soo-hyun gets the frantic call from his wife. The moment he hears his son has vanished, he abandons the gala and speeds home. He then receives another call from someone claiming to be Kim, but his sharp instincts tell him the voice on the other end is an imposter. His dark premonitions are becoming a reality, and Eun-soo is so consumed by terror that she faints on the spot. Faced with a staggering ransom demand from the kidnappers, Soo-hyun is forced to swallow his pride and beg his father-in-law, Kitae, for help. But Kitae sees this only as an opportunity to strike a deal. He demands that Soo-hyun drop the investigation entirely and, even more shockingly, wants him to run for a seat in parliament. On the way to the drop-off point, the kidnappers spot a car tailing Soo-hyun. Using this as an excuse, they abruptly change the exchange location. As a father, Soo-hyun is spiraling into a pit of guilt and self-loathing. He eventually enters an abandoned building, only to be ambushed and knocked unconscious in the dark. 3.5 hours after the kidnapping began, a desperate Eun-soo decides to involve the police. Soo-hyun is eventually rescued, but their son is still nowhere to be found. At the hospital, Detective Suk-hun receives a grim report. Yeon-woo has been murdered. Soo-hyun and his wife rush to the site where the body was discarded. Standing over the body, Soo-hyun breaks down, sobbing in gut-wrenching silence. But then comes a staggering twist: the victim isn't Yeon-woo. It's actually his friend, Jun-young, the son of another female news anchor. As for Yeon-woo, he is currently sleeping peacefully at his grandfather Ki-tae's house. The entire nightmare was a meticulously designed trap. Soo-hyun and his wife leave the scene in a police car, and once they reach the station, he sits in the hallway looking like a hollow shell of a man. In the gloom, he can't stop replaying past scenes in his head, feeling as though he is chasing the shadow of his younger self. He heads to the morgue entrance, hoping to see Jun-young one last time. After all, the child was an innocent victim in this mess. Detective Suk-hun then leads him to a special investigation room. As they approach, they hear loud laughter coming from inside, as if no tragedy had ever occurred. Inside the room, Soo-hyun comes face to face with the police chief, the same man who was just at Ki-tae's charity party. When Soo-hyun asks about the suspect, Suk-hun informs him that the killer has been identified as Kim. He claims that Chairman Ki-tae had received similar threats and that someone had spotted Kim at the charity gala. However, Soo-hyun doesn't buy it. He is convinced that Kim is being framed and that an imposter is using his name. He suspects a massive, prearranged conspiracy is at play. In the interrogation room, Soo-hyun lays out the entire story for Detective Suk-hun from start to finish. They speculate that the killer might have grabbed the wrong child due to the darkness and the heavy rain. Although Suk-hun promises their conversation will remain strictly confidential, he is unaware that a hidden surveillance camera is silently recording every word they say. Soo-hyun hands over his call logs and dashcam records to the detective. Back at the abandoned apartment where Soo-hyun was attacked, the police find a tripwire trap set by the culprit. This was the trap that caused Soo-hyun to trip and lose consciousness. It becomes clear that the kidnapper never intended to make an exchange. His only goal was to knock Soo-hyun out, steal the ransom money, and, as Suk-hun suspects, kill the child immediately after the abduction. However, any definitive conclusions will have to wait until the autopsy results are officially released. In the hospital hallway, Soo-hyun crosses paths with Jun-young's parents, who have arrived to sign the consent forms for the procedure. The mother is on the verge of a total breakdown, adamantly refusing to give her permission for the autopsy. Inside the morgue, these two parents who had never truly stepped up to their responsibilities stare down at the pale, lifeless body of their son. The mother collapses into hysterical sobs as she cradles the boy's corpse. In a blind rage, she lunges at Soo-hyun, grabbing him by the collar and screaming that he is the one who intentionally got her son killed. Just then, Eun-soo rushes in. Overcome with guilt, she confesses to the grieving anchorwoman that it was her decision to call the police that ultimately led to the boy's murder. To shield his wife from the onslaught, Soo-hyun steps in and shares the theory he had discussed with Detective Suk-hun, that the kidnapper likely killed the child almost immediately after the abduction. He takes the full weight of the blame onto his own shoulders. Despite this, the anchorwoman vows that she will spend the rest of her life cursing both of them. Even so, Soo-hyun knows that if he wants to find the real killer, he must find a way to cooperate with her. Back in the interrogation room, he lays out his plan to the anchorwoman, who is left torn and hesitant in the wake of her son's death. Meanwhile, Detective Suk-hun begins to realize that Soo-hyun is a far more complex man than he appears. He finds it incredibly suspicious that even in the absolute chaos of a child's rescue mission, Soo-hyun had the cold presence of mind to back up his data. It's clear that Soo-hyun already has a suspect in mind and is likely keeping secrets. Later, Soo-hyun and Eun-soo head to his father-in-law's estate after hearing that their son, Yeon-woo, is there. Ki-tae greets them with a mask of concern, asking about the situation. When confronted by Soo-hyun's sharp questions, Ki-tae plays the part of the innocent, wronged victim to perfection. But Soo-hyun is too observant. He catches a slip in the old man's act. Soo-hyun quickly concludes that Ki-tae has already obtained the original documents, despite the chairman's firm denials. Sickened by Ki-tae's hypocritical concern, Soo-hyun spits out a few cold, harsh words and storms out, swearing to fight his father-in-law until the very end. Back at her home, the anchorwoman tries to drown her sorrow in alcohol, her mind replaying every word of her conversation with Soo-hyun. That night, the tragic loss of one child has left two families in a state of endless grief. Elsewhere, the son of Ki-tae's mistress is seen wandering the streets, looking completely disheveled. He calls the anchorwoman's daughter, but she aggressively hangs up on him, hinting at a secret the two of them are hiding. At the Hwang residence, Hwang's wife is seen fishing a bag of blood-stained clothes out of the trash and quietly hiding them away. This couple is truly a pair of schemers. One chases status while the other hunts for fame and profit. They are frenemies, allies only when it serves their own selfish interests. Back at home, Soo-hyun obsessively dissects his earlier clash with his father-in-law. He begins to suspect that Ki-tae might actually be telling the truth that he hasn't caught Kim or secured the original files yet. Looking at his ransacked apartment, Soo-hyun deduces that someone broke in searching for the documents but left empty-handed. He constantly replays the calls from Kim and compares them to the kidnapper's voice. He realizes that the killer likely bugged Kim's phone and mimicked his tone perfectly. The goal was to frame Kim and hide the identity of the true culprit. What he still can't understand is why Ki-tae would go to such lengths to hurt his own grandson. To find the real killer, Soo-hyun begins to investigate his own past. He carefully analyzes every enemy he has made over the last 7 years, hunting for any sign of a deep-seated grudge. He compiles a list of every threat he has ever received, knowing he must find Kim and the originals immediately. Suddenly, his wife bursts through the door with a terrifying discovery. Yeon-woo has suddenly lost his sight. Staring at their child, who is now blind and unresponsive, the couple is struck with a mix of horror and helplessness. They rush him to the hospital, but after a thorough exam, the doctor finds no physical injuries. It turns out the boy's blindness is a psychological self-defense mechanism. When a child experiences a shock so traumatic that the mind cannot process it, the brain creates a physical abnormality in this case. His sight simply shut down to protect him from the world. To protect his son, Soo-hyun feeds a fake story to the news station. He lies, claiming his son is still in the hands of the kidnappers, a calculated move not only to keep the boy safe, but to lure the predator out of the shadows. This was the secret pact made between Soo-hyun and the anchorwoman that night. Soo-hyun would let the world believe his own son was the one kidnapped and killed, while publicly announcing that the anchorwoman's son was still alive. They agreed that once the real killer was caught, they would release a formal correction. But Soo-hyun has a deeper motive. He is not just hunting a murderer. He is playing a high-stakes game to secure the original documents and execute his master plan. In reality, their conversation was nothing more than a cold-blooded business deal. At the same time, the anchorwoman's husband, Director Choi, is caught in a secret meeting with Hwang. It looks like the alliance between those two is on the verge of collapsing. Outside Soo-hyun's house, a literal army of reporters has gathered. There, he encounters one of Ki-tae's henchmen. The sight of the man's polished leather shoes triggers a visceral memory on the night Soo-hyun was knocked out at the abandoned house. The mastermind was wearing those exact same shoes. The henchman hands over files from Ki-tae, and right then, Soo-hyun begins to suspect that this man is the true culprit behind everything. The henchman later returns to the estate to report to Ki-tae, who has just discovered that his wife broke into his safe during the charity gala. Ki-tae orders his assistant to handle the matter strictly, but there is a suspicious, murky connection between that assistant and his mistress. As the police scramble to find the killer's trail, Kim reaches out to Soo-hyun on his own. He knows that at this point, Soo-hyun is his only remaining escape route. Soo-hyun takes a taxi back to the crime scene once more. He realizes the killer left the body in such a visible spot because they wanted it to be found as quickly as possible. Returning to the abandoned apartment, he stares at the tire tracks in the sand, reliving that night. He deduces that this location was chosen as a neutral zone to ensure he wouldn't involve the police or anyone from the industry, proving the killer is someone incredibly meticulous and wary. While inside the abandoned house, Soo-hyun crosses paths with Detective Suk-hun, who had also returned to the scene. The two finally decide to put their cards on the table and share their information. They conclude that this wasn't a random kidnapping, but a surgical strike that was thoroughly planned in advance. It was a specific mistake made by Soo-hyun that allowed the killer's plan to succeed. On the way back, Soo-hyun drops a bombshell, revealing Kim's true identity to Suk-hun. Kim is actually a man named Dun Seo-pin. Back at the TV station, Yeo-jin warns Soo-hyun to drop the investigation into the slush funds and illegal election financing. However, Soo-hyun has already grown suspicious of her. He tests her by lying, saying he has already secured the original documents, and he watches her closely as she desperately tries to keep her composure. Soo-hyun then hands his subordinates evidence of Hwang's corruption, preparing to blow the lid off the scandal in tomorrow's broadcast. Through a close friend, Soo-hyun gets his hands on a specialized mobile phone that can instantly pinpoint a caller's location the moment they dial in. Meanwhile, Detective Suk-hun tries to investigate Ki-tae's mansion but is blocked by security. At the police station, the anchorwoman and her husband finally sign the autopsy consent forms and sit down for questioning with Suk-hun. However, when the detective asks for their car's dashcam footage, they both flatly refuse. Unexpectedly, Soo-hyun's brother shows up for a visit with his girlfriend, who is blind. To Soo-hyun, his brother is clearly an uninvited guest who has picked the worst possible time to arrive. In a desperate bid to keep their son safe, the couple decides to move Yeon-woo to his grandfather's house. Just then, Kim calls. Using his specialized tracker, Soo-hyun pinpoints Kim's location just a short distance away. But when he reaches an abandoned car, all he finds are a few discarded mobile phones. Suddenly, His eyes widen as he spots something he didn't expect. Ki-tae's secret son and the anchorwoman's secret daughter are together. At the same time, Suk-hun raids Kim's hideout, only to find the entire place cold and empty. At the police station, Suk-hun carefully reviews the CCTV footage from that fateful night and discovers that the person tailing Soo-hyun's car was none other than Park. Suddenly, Suk-hun receives a breaking update. The police have located Kim and the vehicle Soo-hyun was driving that night, but their grim discovery: Kim is dead. The original documents they were hunting for are nowhere to be found in the car, but they do find a suicide note left behind. In the letter, Kim confesses to kidnapping and murdering Soo-hyun's son, claiming he is taking his own life to atone for the crime. Both Soo-hyun and Suk-hun know instinctively that this suicide note is a blatant forgery. From a distance, a mysterious police officer watches the two of them closely. Soo-hyun officially goes before the press to make a bombshell announcement. His son is actually still alive, and the boy who died was the son of the anchorwoman. He hints that a much larger conspiracy is lurking in the shadows and that the true killer is still walking free. But then comes a staggering revelation. Jun-young was actually the biological son of both Soo-hyun and the anchorwoman. As the saying goes, behind one lie are hundreds more. Standing before Jun-young's tombstone, Soo-hyun is haunted by a dark question. Was Jun-young's death truly accidental? If the killer's original target was indeed Yun-woo, then which one of his many enemies was responsible? The chaos in his head makes it impossible for him to think straight. As a young man, Soo-hyun had witnessed a murder, and he learned the hard way that the price of silence is terrifying. No matter how much he tries to run, he can't escape his past. To him, the only way out is to dedicate his entire being to chasing the truth. This obsession had tragic consequences. One day, his wife was involved in a car accident that resulted in the death of their child. The tragedy left both of them shattered. However, in his grief, Soo-hyun sought an escape and began an affair with his colleague, the anchorwoman. Jun-young was the child born from that illicit affair. Realizing that the dead boy was his own flesh and blood after all, Soo-hyun swears a blood oath to uncover the truth. Infuriated, Soo-hyun confronts his father-in-law. Ki-tae coldly claims he had nothing to do with Kim's death, pointing out that Kim had plenty of other enemies who wanted him gone. Soo-hyun doesn't believe a word of it, but Ki-tae simply tells his son-in-law to go home more often, remarking that nothing is more important than family. Meanwhile, Suk-hun's superior informs him that the case is officially closed. Suk-hun tries to argue, but his boss shuts him down, telling him the evidence is all there and he should stop digging for trouble. After leaving Ki-tae, Soo-hyun realizes he is being followed. He manages to snap a photo of the stalker's face and license plate, then corners the man and threatens him until he talks. The stalker confesses that his orders came directly from the captain of the Special Investigation Unit, whose direct superior is the chief of police. This confirms that Ki-tae is pulling the strings behind the scenes. Suk-hun is baffled. If they didn't kill Kim and didn't get the original files, why go to such lengths to bury the case? Soo-hyun explains that this is a move to discredit and weaken any future news reports they might release. Suk-hun admits he can't get a search warrant to enter the Sun Trang estate, and the security footage has already been wiped. However, they find an unidentified number in Kim's call logs. Soo-hyun decides to use his fame and status to investigate personally. He goes to the estate and tells the security captain that a suspicious person is lurking around the building, tricking the captain into leaving his post to investigate. Soo-hyun notices there is no record of Kim ever entering or leaving the premises, making the security captain look extremely suspicious. He decides to dial the mystery number from Kim's logs, and sure enough, the phone in the security captain's pocket starts ringing. It's clear that this man was the one who let Kim in and deleted the CCTV footage. Soo-hyun sneaks into the security dormitory, searches the lockers, and makes off with everything suspicious he can find. Meanwhile, Hwang is being swamped by the media, who are demanding to know his thoughts on the case. He blames everything on Soo-hyun, but he is secretly seething because Ki-tae is refusing to take his calls. On the road, Soo-hyun gets a call from Park Sung-hwan, but he hangs up immediately. He has no time for a traitor. Shortly after, the anchorwoman holds a massive press conference. Tearfully, she reveals to the world that she is the mother of the victim and explains that the previous false reports were a desperate attempt to protect the living child. She didn't miss the chance to plug her own show either. During the press conference, the anchorwoman played the role of a grieving mother to perfection, carefully posing for the cameras. But the second she turned her back on the reporters, her cold-blooded nature resurfaced instantly. Even director Choi couldn't help but tell her to try being a little more sincere for once. Back at the station, Yeo-jin tells Soo-hyun she doesn't understand why the woman even held that press conference. Soo-hyun explains it's simple. She wants to prove that she is the one holding all the cards. Afterward, Soo-hyun goes to direct his team, as the case is now exploding across the news cycle. However, since the story still needs the anchorwoman's cooperation, Soo-hyun decides to go have a word with her. On her way upstairs, the anchorwoman runs into Yeojin and tells her to think long and hard about what she can offer her. It's clear she has dirt on Yeojin. Although Yeojin is fuming, she is completely powerless to stop her. Soo-hyun warns the anchorwoman not to act recklessly. He tells her to wait until the facts are fully clear before reporting to ensure the maximum impact. But she scoffs at the idea, claiming that if she waits, he'll just swoop in and steal all the best scoops. When Soo-hyun demands to know what she is really after, she simply says she wants to be comforted. She wipes away a stray, fake tear, acts as if nothing happened, and heads home. Meanwhile, at the mansion, Kitae is hosting a visit from the police chief. These two old neighbors rarely sit down for tea, and the conversation is sharp. Kitae remarks that even the children he sponsors know how to say thank you, yet some adults seem to have forgotten their manners. The chief's face twitches at the sarcasm. Seeing her father with the chief, Eun-soo looks visibly unsettled. At the same time, the security captain returns to his dorm and is livid to find that someone broke in and stole his belongings. Back at the house, Yeon-woo is playing with two friends. One of them mentions how Yeon-woo had entered a certain White House on the day of the tragedy. Suddenly, Yeon-woo begins to hyperventilate, unable to catch his breath. Eun-soo, already anxious, hangs up on another call from a mysterious gallery and rushes to give her son emergency aid. Soo-hyun arrives home just then, and the kids start telling him about the White House. A shocked Eun-soo asks Yeon-woo if his memory has returned, but he says no, he has just known about that house for a long time. The children explain that a strange uncle spoke to them before they went to the house that day. When Soo-hyun pulls out a photo of Kim, the kids point to it in unison. That's the man they saw. The kids describe the house as feeling weird and gloomy, which is why they left so quickly. They had called out for Jun-young, but he wouldn't come out, so they eventually left him behind. They show Soo-hyun photos they took inside the house, and he decides he needs to see it for himself. Inside the White House, everything is in total disarray. Pills are scattered across the floor and a strange powder is sitting on the table. Soo-hyun takes a sniff and realizes he has found something major. He pulls out his phone to document the room, but suddenly, a shadow moves. Soo-hyun immediately gives chase. During the frantic pursuit, the mysterious man loses his footing, falls down the stairs, and lies there motionless. Soo-hyun picks up an object the man dropped and calls the police. Meanwhile, Eun-soo is comforting Yeon-woo when he asks her a haunting question. "Mom, do you actually not want me to get my memory back?" He noticed that she seemed relieved when he told her he still couldn't remember anything. Eun-soo quickly claims she just doesn't want him reliving those horrible memories. Just then, her phone rings again, another unsaved number. Panicked, she hangs up several times in a row. Later, Eun-soo goes to see the anchorwoman to talk about the White House, but the woman seems completely indifferent. When Eun-soo kindly asks if she is doing okay, the anchorwoman snaps in a rage, demanding to know where Eun-soo was when her child died. She sneers that Eun-soo's comfort is nothing but pure hypocrisy. Surprisingly, Eun-soo doesn't even react with anger. Terrified, Yeojin goes to meet Chairman Kitae. He tells her that she is destined for a career in politics, but his encouragement comes with a chilling metaphor. If she doesn't want to starve to death, she must hunt until the day she dies. Seeing Yeojin agree to join the hunt, Kitae expresses his satisfaction and reminds her that her greatest weapon is her silence. Meanwhile, the security captain didn't die from his fall. He was rushed to the hospital. Soo-hyun confronts him there with incriminating evidence, demanding an explanation, or he'll hand it all over to the police. Cornered, the captain is forced to cooperate. He reveals that on the day of the crime, the power was intentionally cut, and the surveillance equipment was replaced the very next day, meaning all the original data is gone. Detective Suk-hun receives the autopsy report for little Jun-young. The medical examiner notes that the cause of death is extremely complex. The killer used methods that seemed unnecessary for a child. Furthermore, the boy's heart was already severely damaged, suggesting he had a pre-existing heart condition. After getting the info he needs, Soo-hyun prepares to leave. The security captain asks if he'll keep his end of the deal, but Soo-hyun plays dirty. He tells him he only promised to hand over part of the evidence to the police, the rest is going straight into his news report. The captain falls out of bed in a panic, but Soo-hyun is already long gone. Director Choi brings hotel payment records to Suk-hun, but he is visibly shaken seeing the photos of Jun-young's death on the station wall. Later, he visits the site where the boy died. Overwhelmed with grief and guilt, he breaks down, whispering, "I was wrong." Meanwhile, Suk-hun's South subordinate tracks down Park. Park lies through his teeth, claiming he was only following Soo-hyun because he sensed a big scoop, and insists his dashcam was broken and sent for repairs. In reality, he has secretly hidden the footage. Elsewhere, Director Choi is seen beating a man within an inch of his life, filming the assault while the victim begs for his face to be kept off camera. Kitae's mistress is seen giving orders to Mrs. Hwang. Mrs. Hwang reports that the problem car has been disposed of and plane tickets have been booked for the mistress's son to flee the country tomorrow. Delighted, the mistress rewards Mrs. Huang with a promotion and a raise. Meanwhile, the anchorwoman's stepdaughter and the mistress's son get into a vicious argument. Both threaten to take the other down if they get caught, hinting at a dark secret they share. After their blow-up, they part ways in anger. When the stepdaughter later sees a police car, she is so paralyzed with fear she can't even move. Back at the house, Eun-soo prepares a lavish meal for the anchorwoman. While they are eating, the stepdaughter returns home and frantically asks why there is a police car nearby. Eun-soo explains that they are investigating the White House. Hearing this, the stepdaughter starts desperately typing on her phone. The anchorwoman notices her daughter's strange behavior and snatches the phone away, only to find her searching for information on drug arrests. She immediately demands to know if this has anything to do with Jun Young's death, but the stepdaughter refuses to speak and storms out. The police indeed find drugs and illegal substances inside the White House. They also discover a video showing the stepdaughter, the mistress's son, and a group of wealthy youths throwing a wild party. It appears Jun Young may have accidentally stumbled upon this secret before he was killed. However, something still doesn't quite add up if the teens were the killers. Soo-hyun then produces a master key to the residential complex, suggesting it might hold the ultimate clue. The police decide to detain the group of youths for questioning. The anchorwoman confronts Soo-hyun, begging him not to report on the White House or her daughter. She fears that if the world knows about the drug use, Jun Young's death will be blamed on her. Soo-hyun shuts her down, accusing her of only caring about her public image, while he is the only one left searching for the truth. Back at the station, Yeo-jin tells Soo-hyun she is baffled by the woman's sudden press conference, but Soo-hyun knows the truth. She is reclaiming the upper hand. Later, the anchorwoman pulls out a mysterious pen and warns Soo-hyun not to hog all the glory for himself. The moment Soo-hyun sees that pen, his expression shifts to pure, unadulterated horror. Before leaving, she asks Eun-soo a haunting question. "Are you truly happy?" Leaving Eun-soo visibly stunned. Right then, Eun-soo receives a photo album from the gallery with a message saying the sender wants to meet her. As the anchorwoman walks out, she spots a black box discarded at Soo-hyun's doorstep. Her intuition screams that something massive is hidden inside. After she leaves, Soo-hyun is so overwhelmed with stress that he actually vomits. It turns out the anchorwoman's deal was a heavy one. If he wants to report the story, he has to sacrifice himself. After a long, agonizing inner battle, Soo-hyun seems to cave. He takes the hotel keycard she gave him and heads to the building. Meanwhile, Soo-hyun's brother lies to his girlfriend, saying he has a meeting, but instead heads to the same hotel and changes into a bathrobe. Eun-soo also arrives at the hotel, but just as she starts to take off her coat, the door opens and she is standing face-to-face with her own husband, Soo-hyun. Both are absolutely blindsided by each other's presence. In a shocking turn of events, Eun-soo begins to undress in front of Soo-hyun's brother. The brother leans in and kisses her neck, but as he does, he mumbles the name Eun-ho, the name of his deceased wife. Enraged, Eun-soo slaps him hard across the face. It's clear the brother's mental state has completely fractured. He can't grasp that his wife is dead, and he believes the woman before him, Eun-soo, is there to have a secret affair with him. Eun-soo feels utterly humiliated. She risked everything to have a secret encounter, only for him to see her as his sister-in-law or a ghost of his past. She slams the door and breaks down in tears. Suddenly, she gets a call from the anchorwoman, claiming she is unwell at the hotel and needs Eun-soo to come to her room. Just as Eun-soo enters, Soo-hyun arrives as well. However, the anchorwoman is nowhere to be found. Both husband and wife are stunned to see each other. Eun-soo is suspicious of the key card in Soo-hyun's hand, while Soo-hyun's eyes lock onto a fresh hickey on his wife's neck. Both quickly fabricate a story, claiming they only came out of concern for the anchorwoman. Soo-hyun adds a weak lie that he got his key card from the front desk. In reality, the anchorwoman is in a completely different room, and the person she is actually meeting is Yeo-jin. She blackmails Yeo-jin, threatening to expose the station chief's private life unless she gets exactly what she wants. Yeo-jin is forced to settle, and the two end up in an intimate embrace. But there is a catch. The anchorwoman had already planted a hidden camera. Every second of their secret relationship is now caught on tape. Back home, a furious Eun-soo shreds the brother's script, the very document from the black box, and in her rage, she accidentally cuts her hand. Just then, Ki-tae's assistant arrives to inform her that her father has filed a restraining order against Soo-hyun's brother. When the brother returns home, he completely ignores his girlfriend, instead obsessively staring at photos of Eun-soo. His blind girlfriend can't see what he is doing, but she can feel the tension in the air and quietly makes a phone call. Meanwhile, Park scores a major piece of intel, Ki-tae's secret family records. He realizes he is sitting on a secret that could make him incredibly wealthy. Knowing the police are about to bust the mistress's son for drug use, Ki-tae tells his assistant to leak the son's location to the cops. It's a move designed to scare Soo-hyun into backing off. Though Ki-tae has no intention of actually letting his son get arrested, he is already planning to smuggle him out of the country. The son, however, is ungrateful and hostile toward his mother. The mistress snaps back, telling him that if he wants his father's inheritance, he needs to stop causing scandals. Her assistant, who is also her secret lover, calls to share intel and warns her that her life is the most important thing to protect right now. Finally, an incensed Soo-hyun confronts the anchorwoman for the trap she set. She coldly offers him one last chance. A live one-on-one interview this Friday to talk about the kidnapping case. Everything is finally clicking for Soo-hyun. He realizes that Yeojin has been completely bought off. The anchorwoman's endgame? She wants to seize the golden hour Saturday primetime slot for her own broadcast. But Soo-hyun isn't about to roll over. He launches a fierce counterattack, warning her to keep Eun-soo's name out of this mess. He delivers a chilling ultimatum. If she doesn't back off, he will leak the story of her stepdaughter's drug addiction in 2 days. The anchorwoman knows that if that news breaks, her carefully crafted grieving mother persona will shatter instantly. Soo-hyun coldly advises her to find her stepdaughter and turn her in to the police himself, reminding her that paper cannot wrap fire, the truth will eventually burn through. Meanwhile, as Director Choi is busy shredding incriminating documents, his daughter comes to him begging for help. She puts on a performance of pure innocence, claiming she knows nothing about what happened to Jun-young. Choi knows his daughter's true nature all too well, but she is his flesh and blood. He simply can't bring himself to abandon her. Back at the station, Soo-hyun is hellbent on running the story about the financial scandal, but Yeojin taunts him, pointing out that he still doesn't have the original documents. She warns him that the anchorwoman's report is far more marketable. She tells him flatly, if he broadcasts without the originals, tonight will be his final night on air. Infuriated, Soo-hyun bets his entire career on it, vowing to expose the scandal regardless of the cost. Later, Soo-hyun meets with his colleagues to dissect the case. Since the children saw Kim at that specific building, there's a 2-hour window where things went dark. He suspects that one of the guests from the charity gala might be the one who killed Kim. Just then, Detective Suk-hun calls with a breakthrough. They found fingerprints on the master key. The prints belong to the security captain, Hwang, and one unidentified person. Soo-hyun recalls seeing Hwang's assistant written in the guest log and races back to the hospital to grill the security captain. The captain points out the person listed as the assistant, and it's Yeojin. As he leaves the hospital, Soo-hyun runs into Park. Park claims he has something vital to show him, but Soo-hyun is in no mood for games and blows him off. With his broadcast time fast approaching and his colleagues growing restless, Soo-hyun returns to the station and corners Yeojin. He gets straight to the point. On the night of the crime, around 8 p.m., someone used a master key from Hwang to break into his study. That person is the most likely candidate to be holding the original documents. Was it you? He demands. Yeojin responds with a cold, mocking laugh, but Soo-hyun reads her expression perfectly. The originals aren't with her or Hwang. Yeojin only left the estate after the blackout that night. Confident, Soo-hyun tells her she doesn't need to say a word. He already knows everything and warns her to stop while she still can. Feeling insulted by his interrogation, Yeojin snaps back that Soo-hyun actually knows nothing at all. After their confrontation, she meets with the anchorwoman, who uses the secret camera footage from the hotel to blackmail her. The video captures their intimate embrace, and it hits Yeojin right where it hurts. The anchorwoman sneers, asking why Yeojin won't help her rise to the top if she loves her so much. The price for deleting the video? The primetime Saturday slot. When the anchorwoman returns home, she spirals into a rage because she can't find her stepdaughter. She and Director Choi get into another explosive fight over Jun-young. She demands he deal with his daughter's mess and reveals she knows he lied to the police about the dashcam footage to hide his money laundering. Choi tries to defend his daughter, calling her a simple, lovely little angel, which nearly drives the anchorwoman insane. She screams that she was home that night and never saw the girl come back. In a chilling moment, Choi retorts that she wasn't even home that night. The anchorwoman just laughs. The habit of lying is clearly a hereditary trait between father and daughter. Finally, Soo-hyun and his team discuss Hwang's latest moves. Following yesterday's report, Hwang was swarmed by reporters this morning. He retreated back into his house and hasn't been seen since. Soo-hyun analyzes the timeline. Yeojin left and Eun-soo arrived home around 9 p.m. on the day of the incident. Kim was murdered at 10 p.m. As for Hwang, his colleagues are whispering that he might have faked his own disappearance because he is the one holding the original documents. Whether or not he is actually the killer remains a mystery. Meanwhile, Yeojin receives the news of a lifetime. She has been nominated as a spokesperson for the Blue House. She is quietly ecstatic, but a dark cloud of anxiety still hangs over her. Soo-hyun knows she broke into his study, and to make matters worse, she can't get in touch with her handler, Hwang. The missing original files have everyone on edge, Even the powerful Kite is so rattled that he has lost all interest in his favorite hobby, his intricate handicrafts. Soo-hyun heads home to find Eun-soo waiting. She confronts him, saying he feels cold and distant, before taking the initiative to kiss him. Soo-hyun immediately plays the part of the devoted husband to keep her happy. However, when he wakes up the next morning, Eun-soo has already left for her father's house. Their son Yeon-woo's condition is a roller coaster of highs and lows, which is absolutely breaking Eun-soo's heart. Adding to the mess, Soo-hyun's brother is still playing mind games, sending suggestive texts to Eun-soo. He is obsessed with his sister-in-law and refuses to leave her alone. She eventually tells him she'll meet him, but only after Yeon-woo's health stabilizes. Back at the mansion, Kitae's mistress is trembling with fear as she tells him about her son's deteriorating mental state, begging him to send him to America. Kitae, who has nothing but contempt for her, secretly wishes she'd just drop dead. Later, the mistress heads to the wine cellar. She suspiciously dismisses the cleaner so she can clean the basement alone. While poking around, she discovers a wine cabinet that seems off, and the sight of it sends her into a state of pure panic. Meanwhile, Hwang finally resurfaces. It turns out he was indeed the man director Choi beat within an inch of his life. Covered in bruises and wounds, Hwang is forced to drive himself home. His first move, he calls his associates to order a re-evaluation of a major coastal tourism project he had originally promised to Kitae. His subordinate agrees, mentioning that the slush fund and a government vehicle are ready, but the moment the call ends, that same subordinate reports everything to Hwang's wife. As the mistress's son attempts to flee the country at the airport, Detective Suk-hun is already one step ahead, waiting in ambush. The police arrest the young man on drug charges right then and there. Back at the station, the anchorwoman is thrilled to see herself trending on social media. She then gets a call from Park, an old acquaintance she hasn't seen in years. She knows he wouldn't reach out after all this time unless he had a scheme in mind. Meanwhile, Suk-hun calls Soo-hyun to ask about his history with Park, confirming that Park was the one stalking him that night. Soo-hyun knows Park SM. Oh. He definitely followed him from the residential complex and likely caught something critical on his dashcam. Soo-hyun tries to call Park, but when he gets no answer, he races to the hospital. He arrives only to find Park's bed empty. He is one step too late. Park has already gone to see the anchorwoman. The moment they meet, she demands to know what he saw. Park takes his time, first reminding her how he helped her stage those scandalous bed photos with Soo-hyun years ago. Then, he drops a massive bomb. He knows about her secret relationship with Yeo-jin. The anchorwoman is paralyzed with shock. She can't believe he knows about her and the station chief. While Kitae is home reviewing financial documents, his men report that Park is demanding a meeting to discuss the day of the crime. Kitae, sensing that Park is up to no good, agrees to see him immediately. After finishing with the anchorwoman, Park heads to Kitae's. He gets straight to the point. He pulls out his dashcam and claims he has captured the face of Jun-young's real killer. The anchorwoman is desperate to see the footage, but Park begins to interrogate her about Jun-young instead. When Soo-hyun calls her, he learns that Park is on his way to see Kitae. The anchorwoman looks completely shaken and full of regret. Soo-hyun knows his father-in-law better than anyone. Kitae would never give a lowlife like Park the time of day unless Park held a secret that could bring his whole world crashing down. It meant the dashcam footage had captured either the person holding the original documents or, even bigger, the face of the actual killer. Soo-hyun immediately places a call, and the two of them agree to meet at Park's apartment. At this point, Park is living in a total fantasy world, convinced he is about to hit the jackpot by blackmailing a titan like Kitae. But he is playing a deadly game. For a man like Kitae, once he gets what he needs, witnesses like Park are usually dealt with permanently. Soo-hyun waits outside Park's building for a long time, but when things start to feel eerily quiet, he heads up to investigate. Inside, he finds exactly what he feared. Park is dead. Meanwhile, back at their respective homes, both the anchorwoman and Eun-soo discover the exact same type of medication. The moment the anchorwoman sees the pills, she flushes them down the toilet, desperately washing away any trace of them. Eun-soo, on the other hand, is struck by a wave of terror and goes back to reread Jun-young's autopsy report. It notes that the boy died with significant brain swelling, a condition the report suggests could be linked to a specific drug. She is left haunted by a single question. Did this medication play a direct role in Jun-young's death? Back at the crime scene, Soo-hyun carefully searches Park's apartment after discovering the body. He deduces that the killer likely lay in wait to ambush Park. But something doesn't add up. If the goal was simply to recover the evidence, why go as far as murder? His theory is that the killer was someone Park actually recognized, leaving them with no choice but to silence him forever. When Detective Suk-hun arrives on the scene, he is deeply concerned. 2 murders in just a few days, both revolving around people in Soo-hyun's inner circle. It's a massive red flag. He warns Soo-hyun that no matter what he is hiding, the truth will eventually be dragged into the light. Soo-hyun promises to come clean, but but insists that now is not the time. At home, the anchorwoman is visibly sick, vomiting from the stress before raiding her medicine cabinet. She finds another bottle of those same pills and flushes them before calling Eun-soo, asking her to bring over her son's belongings. That's when she gets the call from Soo-hyun telling her that Park is dead. Who murdered him? She asks instantly. Soo-hyun catches her in the lie immediately. He only said Park was dead. So how did she already know it was a murder? They agree to meet at the TV station to discuss the details. When Eun-soo drops off the clothes at the house, the anchorwoman starts frantically searching through them. She asks Eun-soo if she found anything extra, but Eun-soo plays it cool. In reality, Eun-soo had already found the pill bottle the anchorwoman was looking for and decided to keep it for herself. Later, the anchorwoman meets Yeo-jin in a parking garage. Yeo-jin mentions that Park had reached out to her, trying to sell intel about their secret relationship, and dismisses him as a nuisance. The anchorwoman then drops the bombshell. He is dead. Again, Yeo-jin asks who murdered him, and the anchorwoman throws Soo-hyun's own words back at her. She never said he was murdered. Yeo-jin stays eerily calm, noting that since she is headed for the Blue House, the anchorwoman shouldn't ask too many questions. The anchorwoman scoffs, realizing she is being sold out now that her partner has what she wants. Yeo-jin simply promises that she will guarantee her future. Back at the murder scene, Suk-hun's team finds Soo-hyun's fingerprints and footprints everywhere. However, the outside CCTV proves that Soo-hyun only arrived after the murder had taken place. When the two men meet, Suk-hun notes that the killer managed to avoid every single camera. They knew the blind spots of the building like the back of their hand. Suk-hun finds it hard to believe that Park would go to a powerhouse like Kitae for something as simple as money or a job. Why go to such a dangerous shark for such small bait? Soo-hyun agrees that the logic doesn't hold up. Suk-hun gives him a final warning. Spill the secrets now, or the police will have no choice but to treat him as the prime suspect. Soo-hyun says he'll cooperate with the investigation, but his secrets stay buried. Finally, Soo-hyun meets the anchorwoman and demands to know what she said to Park that day. Her response? If he wants the truth, he has to move her big interview up by a full day. The anchorwoman argues that with all the murders happening lately, no one will even care about her news anymore if she waits. Soo-hyun reluctantly agrees to her terms. She then reveals that she didn't actually have a full conversation with Park. She only saw that he was carrying a camera, though she never saw the footage inside. However, Park was incredibly confident. He was certain that once Kitae saw the video, the chairman would buy out the media and hand him a high-ranking position. Soo-hyun is now convinced that Park's camera didn't just capture the killer's face, but something even more explosive. The crushing weight of the investigation is starting to take its toll on Soo-hyun. Even while on air, his mind is spinning with the details of the case, leaving him feeling drained and dizzy. Meanwhile, Kitae receives word that Park is dead and delivers a cold warning to his assistant. No more surprises. Just as Soo-hyun finishes his broadcast, he receives a bombshell text message. A paternity test proving that he is Jun Young's biological father. The sender issues a chilling ultimatum. Stay silent, or the secret goes public. Already physically weak, this final blow is too much, and Soo-hyun collapses on the spot. At home, Eun-soo is deeply worried about Yeon-woo's unstable emotional state. Even Kitae shows a strange level of concern for his daughter and grandson. When Eun-soo gets the call that Soo-hyun has fainted, she rushes to the hospital. There, Soo-hyun is trapped in a nightmare, waking up to find Eun-soo by his side. His colleagues visit, urging him to prioritize his health. But the war is far from over. Back at the mansion, the mistress is frantically cleaning the wine cellar. Her assistant mocks her, saying that when you do bad things, you start seeing ghosts everywhere. She snaps back, threatening him, but he simply tells her to worry about her son who has just been hauled away by the police. Terrified, she scrambles to save him. Director Choi is also spiraling, terrified that his company's project issues will lead to embezzlement charges. He tells his subordinate he needs to fabricate a new project before the stock market opens to cover his tracks. Their conversation is interrupted by the anchorwoman, who announces she is taking her stepdaughter to the police station along with Choi. She isn't doing this to be a good mother. She wants to film the whole thing for clout. She warns Choi to turn himself in quickly so he can avoid being detained the next day. Outside the station, the stepdaughter pulls her stepmother aside. She knows the anchorwoman is just using her for ratings, so she suggests they go big, turning the Junyoung Memorial into a media circus with candles, residents, and reporters. The anchorwoman loves the idea. The mistress begs the police chief for help, but he tells her his hands are tied. This order came directly from the top. She is stunned that the high-ranking commissioner would personally interfere in a minor drug case. Meanwhile, Detective Suk-hun takes the mistress's son in for questioning, reminding him that if he doesn't want to take the fall alone, he'd better start talking. The young man is visibly shaken when he sees the stepdaughter arriving at the station. Back at the hospital, Soo-hyun is still working from his bed, oblivious to the fact that Eun-soo is on the phone with her lover. He then receives a text from the anchorwoman, bragging that she has successfully brought her stepdaughter in for a confession. During his interrogation, the mistress's son tells Suk-hun that on the night of the crime, he and the stepdaughter chased Jun-young to her house, but the boy vanished. He claims the two of them then spent the night together at her place, but when he woke up the next morning, both the car and the girl were gone. He frantically insists he had nothing to do with the child's death and asks if they found Kim or Park. Simultaneously, the stepdaughter gives her version to the police. She claims she woke up to find the car and the boy gone. She admits to smoking out of curiosity but denies being a drug dealer. Detective Suk-hun asks her the standard question. Did she see anyone else that night? The stepdaughter claims she saw a car with the engine turned off and a man decked out in high-end designer brands storming away like he was on a mission. She notes that in this neighborhood, the richer people are, the more humble they act, so this guy stuck out like a sore thumb. Once the questioning wraps up, the police can't help but remark on what a great actress the girl is. While Soo-hyun is grinding away, analyzing the case files, Eun-soo stops by. Soo-hyun mentions that she sounded unhappy when they spoke on the phone earlier, but she brushes it off, claiming she has just been getting some annoying harassment calls lately. Soo-hyun immediately realizes his wife is lying to him. Eun-soo then updates him on their son's condition, and the two share a brief, comforting hug. Suk-hun visits Soo-hyun to talk shop in his car, even offering a rare apology for being so harsh during their last encounter. Meanwhile, Mrs. Hwang is about to hand some documents to the mistress when she accidentally overhears a frantic phone conversation. The mistress is rambling about a traffic accident and insisting her son had absolutely nothing to do with the child's death. Hearing the words traffic accident immediately sets off alarm bells in Mrs. Hwang's head. Back in the car, Suk-hun drops a dark update. Jun-young had panic disorder medication in his system when he died, meds that are absolutely not meant for children. Soo-hyun realizes someone must have intentionally forced the boy to swallow them. As for Park's murder, Suk-hun admits the investigation is hitting a dead end. He warns Soo-hyun that whoever is pulling the strings is incredibly powerful and urges him to stop acting alone. Back at her home, Mrs. Hwang finds a pair of shoes caked in mud, the same shoes Hwang wore the night he returned. She also remembers seeing a massive dent in the front of his car and finding blood-stained clothes in the house. She wonders, could Hwang actually be involved in this? When Hwang finally returns, he swears he is innocent. His wife tells him that even if he is, the world will still suspect him. She warns him that opposing Kitae at a time like this is professional suicide. She then cooks up a cover story. They claim he walked home from Kitae's estate that night while his secretary drove the car. Meanwhile, the mistress begs Kitae to save her son, promising to step down from all her responsibilities in exchange. Only then does Kitae order his assistant to contact the police commissioner. At the boy's memorial service, Eun-soo makes an appearance. When Soo-hyun's brother sees her, he can't control himself and impulsively pulls her into a hug. Eun-soo is visibly panicked. Even though they think they're alone, she knows they have to be careful. And she's right, the anchorwoman is watching them from the shadows. Later, the anchorwoman and director Choi face the press for an interview. She takes every opportunity to plug her big show tomorrow, while Choi is visibly consumed by grief. He tells her he doesn't want to keep going with the charade, but she coldly encourages him to push through until the very end. It's finally the day of the big interview between Soo-hyun and the anchorwoman. Yeo-jin stops by to give her a pep talk, promising her a personal documentary once the interview is a success. She even gives her a necklace, showing that she genuinely cares for the woman. The cameras start rolling, and right out of the gate, the anchorwoman drops a nuclear bomb on Soo-hyun. She asks, if you had known the victim was Jun-young and not your own son Yeon-woo, would you have still tried just as hard to save him? Soo-hyun is paralyzed. He stares blankly into space, completely unresponsive despite the director's frantic cues. The question hit a nerve he wasn't prepared for. In that moment, he is transported back to his teenage years, remembering the time he witnessed a murder and fled with his mother in a panic. His silence back then led to more deaths, and that guilt has been eating at his soul ever since. Finally snapping back to reality, Soo-hyun regains his composure and prepares to answer. He says that after hearing his son had been in an accident, he was consumed by panic and grief, but then he adds, Jun-young was also my own child. The room goes dead silent. Everyone is wondering, is he actually coming out with the truth? However, Soo-hyun quickly clarifies. Jun-young was Yeon-woo's best friend and the son of a close, respected colleague to him. The boy was no different from his own son. Therefore, even if I had known it was Jun-young, I would have given everything I had to save him. As soon as the show ends, Yeo-jin gets a call from the police. They found her fingerprints on the master key and want her at the station for questioning. Meanwhile, Hwang is notified by his subordinates that the police want to have a chat with him. Both Director Choi and Yeo-jin try to call him, but Hwang shuts them both out. Annoyed and feeling the pressure, Yeo-jin pulls a USB drive out of her desk, her ultimate insurance policy. Even though the police have summoned Hwang, he uses his status to refuse cooperation as a mere witness. At the same time, the mistress's son and the stepdaughter meet up. The son is eaten alive by guilt for not saving the victim when he had the chance. Before heading to the station, the stepdaughter tries to coordinate their alibis so they can both get off scot-free. The son is horrified by her cold indifference toward death, thinking she is absolutely insane. Meanwhile, the mistress is spiraling because she can't reach her son. She keeps flashing back to that day in the basement, desperately scrubbing the wine cabinets. The anchorwoman is fuming when she sees that Soo-hyun is the one trending after the broadcast. Soo-hyun confronts her to settle the score, and the two get into a heated argument over Jun-young. But she isn't done with him, yet she coldly tells him he should go home and ask his wife, Eun-soo, about her affair. The seeds of doubt had already been planted in Soo-hyun's mind, but he had been refusing to admit the truth. Under the crushing psychological pressure, he begins to hallucinate, seeing the shadow of his younger self everywhere. Even Ki-tae has sensed for a long time that his daughter, Eun-soo, is hiding a secret and warns her not to leave any loose ends. Soo-hyun's brother continues to relentlessly pursue Eun-soo, but she finally decides she is going to confess everything to her husband and end their relationship for good. The brother quickly apologizes and vows to wait for her. Meanwhile, Ki-tae's assistant reports that the mistress's son is still unreachable. Ki-tae gives the order: pack up the mistress and her son and ship them off to America immediately. Later, Hwang has dinner with his government colleagues, and Yeojin corners him afterward. Hwang dismissively offers her the leftovers from his meal, telling her he has already handled everything and she should stop being so aggressive. But Yeojin refuses to take the fall alone. She pulls out the USB and blackmails him. Hwang warns her that if his political career goes down, her dreams of the Blue House go down with it. They decide on a mutual benefit pact, and Hwang asks if she can handle Soo-hyun. Yeojin hints that she has already got something on him. Director Choi is busy juggling the company's financial mess. He instructs his team to hide the details of Ki-tae's $2 billion project from investors, spinning the numbers quietly to cover their tracks. Hwang tries to talk to Choi about Ki-tae, but Choi ignores him. Hwang warns him, Ki-tae is far more terrifying than any prison cell. On his way home, Hwang notices his secretary is acting strangely. When he arrives, he realizes the leather shoes he wore on the night of the crime are missing. His wife denies touching them but warns him to be extremely careful if the police come knocking. Ki-tae has summoned him for a meeting the next day, which strikes his wife as very odd. Ki-tae also attends the memorial service and announces he will open the estate grounds for the event. Hwang's wife tells her husband to swallow his pride. When he meets Ki-tae tomorrow, he needs to stay humble, so the old man doesn't find a weakness to exploit. Soo-hyun returns home looking like a ghost. Seeing his state, Eun-soo asks if he is okay. Recalling the anchorwoman's biting words, Soo-hyun asks his wife if anything happened on the day of the funeral. Eun-soo hesitates and fumbles her words, and her guilty body language doesn't escape Soo-hyun's sharp eyes. She claims Yeonwoo isn't doing well and needs to stay at her father's house for a few more days. Soo-hyun suggests that once this nightmare is over, the whole family should go on a trip, desperately trying to salvage what's left of their marriage. Haunted by his wife's increasingly strange behavior, Soo-hyun decides to search her office for clues. However, he comes up empty-handed. Meanwhile, Eun-soo watches over the sleeping Yeonwoo and pulls a mysterious pill bottle from her pocket. She is terrified. Did the anchorwoman tell Soo-hyun something during their interview? Panicked, she calls the anchorwoman and demands an immediate meeting. Yeojin also shows up to see the anchorwoman, but finds her in a foul mood. She is still fuming that Yeojin ignored her calls the previous night. The anchorwoman coldly tells Yeojin she has another appointment and storms out. When the anchorwoman and Eun-soo finally face off, Eun-soo pulls out the pill bottle, catching the anchorwoman completely off guard. Eun-soo delivers a sharp warning. Keep your mouth shut in front of Soo-hyun. The gloves come off as they tear into each other. The anchorwoman sneers that Eun-soo is a fake innocent woman having an affair, while Eun-soo fires back, accusing the anchorwoman of being a fake mother who drugged her own child with unprescribed meds just to keep him quiet. Eun-soo reminds her that, as Ki-tae's daughter, pulling hospital records is child's play for her. She warns that as long as the anchorwoman stays silent, Soo-hyun will continue to play the part of the oblivious husband. Shaken, the anchorwoman remarks that this couple truly gives her the chills. Terrified of the fallout, the anchorwoman calls Director Choi, begging him to use his connections to wipe her medical records from the hospital. Choi is overwhelmed. He had no idea the stepdaughter also knew about the anchorwoman drugging Jun-young. He moves quickly to contact the hospital before the trail leaks. After the confrontation, a mentally exhausted Eun-soo doesn't go home. Instead, she checks into a hotel and calls her lover, seeking comfort for her shattered nerves. Back at home, the anchorwoman enters Jun-young's empty room. She remembers how she was always too busy chasing her career to care for him, and how she used to force him to take pills just so she could get him to sleep. For a moment, The guilt of being a terrible mother washes over her, but she quickly snaps out of it and calls a documentary production company. Meanwhile, the mistress's son is spiraling in a hotel room. His mind keeps drifting back to that fateful night. He remembers driving with the stepdaughter to find Jun Young during the blackout, and the sickening thud of accidentally hitting someone in the dark. At the office, the mistress is shocked to find Mrs. Huang sitting in her chair, a clear act of defiance. Mrs. Huang suggests that if the son can't run, they need a scapegoat, and she uses the mistress's secret affair with the assistant as leverage. But the mistress isn't easily intimidated. She pins Mrs. Huang to the desk with a vicious warning. Mrs. Huang points out that since the mistress isn't in the will or the family registry, she has nothing to gain by fighting. The mistress simply sneers that she has her own ways of handling things. In another room, Huang is on his knees, begging Kite for mercy. Kite has only one demand: give me the original documents. Elsewhere, Soo-hyun visits a psychiatrist. In a dreamlike state, a dark memory from his past resurfaces. Years ago, his silence allowed Kim to be framed for a crime he didn't commit. Turns out Soo-hyun was his close friend even back then, and their reunion years later feels like destiny. Back at the mansion, Kite is losing his patience. He threatens to shoot Huang, claiming he'll frame it as an accidental discharge. He knows that if those original files go public, he is going to prison. Later, Soo-hyun meets Suk-hun and asks why Kim specifically chose him to deliver the files. Suk-hun explains it's because he is Kitae's son-in-law. A report coming from him would be a nuclear strike against the chairman. Soo-hyun wonders who really dragged him into this three-way war with Kitae, but Suk-hun flips the question. What did you really see that night? If you keep quiet, more people will die. Just like every time he has pressed for the truth, Soo-hyun is hit with a debilitating, psychosomatic headache. Meanwhile, Kitae fires his gun but intentionally misses Huang. And in a final, shocking twist, the documentary director, the anchorwoman, reached out to turns out to be none other than Soo-hyun's own brother. Eaten away by his own guilt, the mistress's son heads to the scrapyard, desperate to find the car involved in that night's accident. Meanwhile, Soo-hyun arrives at a secluded lake, the very spot where a high school girl was murdered years ago. Because there were no witnesses, the case went cold and remains unsolved to this day. This is the exact place where his long-running nightmares began. As he stands there, the war for the original documents ignites once again. Back at the mansion, Kitae has a gun pressed against Huang's head, but Huang refuses to utter a single word. He seems genuinely convinced that Kitae is the one holding the original documents and that the chairman is teaming up with Soo-hyun to take him down. Kitae finds the idea of him and Soo-hyun working together absolutely hilarious. In a desperate plea for mercy, Huang promises Kitae that he will find the originals himself. He even vows that if he can't find them, he'll eliminate Soo-hyun to ensure those documents stay buried forever. Elsewhere, a physical brawl breaks out between the mistress and Mrs. Huang. During the struggle, Mrs. Huang reveals she knows a devastating secret. On the night Jun Young died, the mistress was seen constantly going in and out of the underground wine cellar, a room that just happens to have a secret connection to the back door of the house. At the hotel, Soo-hyun's brother is hovering over Eun-soo while she sleeps. Her phone rings, but he heartlessly declines the call and turns the device off, so she won't be disturbed. It turns out the Sun Trang Complex isn't just heavily guarded. Kitae has hidden surveillance cameras installed at every single intersection. Despite this high-tech dragnet, no one has managed to spot the original documents. Kitae orders his men to guard their existing evidence carefully, warning them to release everything to the public as a last resort if things take a turn for the worse. Back at the station, Suk-hun and the news crew are panicking because they completely lost contact with Soo-hyun. With no new leads, the police keep a suffocatingly close watch on the mistress's son, who is currently seen stumbling out of a hotel and driving away while completely wasted. When Eun-soo finally wakes up, she finds Soo-hyun's brother still obsessing over her. She demands to know why her phone is off, and he makes up a weak excuse about wanting her to rest. When she sees the mountain of missed calls, she senses something is terribly wrong. She contacts Soo-hyun's colleagues and learns that he has disappeared and that his mental state was extremely unstable before he vanished. Terrified, she starts packing her things to find him. But the brother, consumed by jealousy, tries to block her path and even threatens her. Eun-soo snaps, giving him a lethal glare and warning him not to touch a single hair on Soo-hyun's head. Meanwhile, the mistress's son is losing his mind, racing his car down the road and stopping to vomit repeatedly. His mother and the stepdaughter keep calling him, which only fuels his mounting irritation. He eventually reaches the scrapyard, still paranoid despite the owner's repeated insistences that the car has already been destroyed. He even suspects the owner turned the car over to the police. And just like that, speak of the devil, Suk-hun arrives at the gates. This time, he uses a DUI charge as a pretext to haul the boy away. Through the scrapyard owner, Suk-hun learns that the scrap car the boy was so worried about was actually brought in by his mother, the mistress. Watching the stock prices of his company plummet because of the boy's scandals, Kite makes a cold business decision. He's done with the mistress and her son. He decides to cut them loose for good. Elsewhere, the anchorwoman claims she can help Eun-soo find Soo-hyun's whereabouts, but it requires a deal. Meanwhile, Yeojin is nervously playing with the necklace the anchorwoman returned to her. She receives a call from the Blue House and is so overjoyed that she doesn't even bother to pick up the necklace when she drops it. They tell her to wrap up her current handovers before she starts her new position. Yeojin promises them that there will be no further news reports on the scandal. Finally, Eun-soo hands over the pills she found in Junyoung's belongings in exchange for the intel she was promised. She is hit with a gut-wrenching revelation. Over the last few days, Soo-hyun has been visiting a psychiatric clinic and has been prescribed a heavy amount of medication. As his wife, she was completely in the dark about how much he was truly suffering. The anchorwoman mocks Eun-soo, sneering that she doesn't even truly know the man she is married to. She brings up the terrifying nightmares Soo-hyun suffers from every night and his special destiny with Kite. Later, Yeojin receives a call from the anchorwoman, who claims that Soo-hyun has practically handed them a ladder to climb. It looks like the pieces on the chessboard are being reset once again. Yeojin suggests to Hwang that they wait until Soo-hyun officially fails to show up for the broadcast. Then, they can announce a formal investigation and sue him for defamation, making it nearly impossible for him to ever make a comeback. However, Hwang is still petrified that the original documents might resurface and wreck their entire plan. Yeojin, ever the schemer, claims she has plenty of insurance policies in her pocket. Meanwhile, the mistress is busy renovating the underground wine cellar to bury her secrets, but Mrs. Hwang is already onto her. Mrs. Hwang reveals she knows everything and pressures the mistress to use company funds to wipe away the trail of the secret slush funds. Even though this will hurt Kite's interests, it's the only way for them to stay alive. If they don't do it, neither the mistress's son nor Hwang will survive the fallout. Speaking of the son, he is currently being grilled at the station, but even under Suk-hun's intense pressure, he refuses to say a single word about Junyoung's murder. This sends Suk-hun into a blind rage. Director Choi is notified to pick up Junyoung's funeral portrait, a moment that strikes a chord of deep, genuine sorrow in him. He carefully places the boy's picture in the passenger seat as if the child were still sitting there with him. Watching a once vibrant life suddenly vanish is too much for him, and he breaks down in tears, clutching the portrait. In truth, Choi cared for the boy far more than his own biological mother ever did. When he returns home and finds the anchorwoman busy preparing to go out, he explodes in a fit of rage. To him, it's absolute madness that she can prioritize her career while her child lies dead. The anchorwoman, however, accuses him of faking his paternal love, pointing out that he never cared before. She then asks him a piercing question. On the night the child died, wasn't he busy meeting a young girl at a hotel? Choi is stunned by the accusation. While he wasn't cheating that night, the question triggers a memory of something he hid in his car's trunk. Just then, Hwang calls him, frantically demanding money, leaving Choi to collapse on the floor in despair. Finally, the missing link that everyone has been fighting over resurfaces. Kim's original documents have appeared. A mysterious stranger claims to be holding them and demands a private meeting with Kite. Kite orders his assistant to set up the meeting at the gallery, reminding him to be meticulous after all. The two of them were caught on camera before. Back at the station, Yeojin informs the news team that since Soo-hyun is still missing, the anchorwoman will be taking his seat for the evening news. It's a calculated move designed to generate a massive hot search and keep the ratings high. Kite arrives at the gallery for the meeting. Meanwhile, a terrified Eun-soo calls her father, Kite, begging him to help find Soo-hyun. Kite is genuinely surprised to hear his son-in-law is missing, but he has bigger fish to fry. He comforts his daughter, telling her not to worry and that Soo-hyun will surely be back before the broadcast starts. But after hanging up, Kite senses a strange coincidence. Soo-hyun, a man who treats his news show like his very life, is suddenly absent at the exact same moment the original documents reappear. This can only mean two things. Either Soo-hyun has been taken out or this is all part of his master plan. As the clock ticks down to the evening news, the atmosphere in the studio is electric. The anchorwoman is soaking it all in. This is the position she has dreamed of for years. Yeojin tells her that Soo-hyun is still nowhere to be found and reminds her to focus the report on the incompetent police investigation. From Yeojin's smug attitude, it's clear that this entire strategy was cooked up by a mysterious figure behind the scenes. The broadcast officially begins. Meanwhile, the clock is running out on the mistress's son's detention period. Just as things reach a boiling point, Suk-hun receives a frantic phone call that sends him racing out of the station, his heart pounding with anxiety. Even Kite's elite trackers can't find any sign of Soo-hyun. How could a man so famous just vanish into thin air? As the clock strikes the hour, the evening news begins, and the anchorwoman is practically glowing, ready to soak up her moment in the spotlight. But miles away, In the eerie silence of a dark cemetery, Soo-hyun finally re-emerges. His disappearance has left everyone on edge. Some are celebrating, while others are drowning in anxiety. Back at home, Eun-soo breaks down in tears when she sees the broadcast start without her husband. Meanwhile, Hwang is in an uncharacteristically good mood, dressing up in a sharp new suit to welcome his guests. His wife, however, delivers a chilling reminder. Jun-young was in his car that night. Even if Hwang wasn't the one who killed him, he needs to keep a very tight leash on his driver. Before heading out, Hwang tells his driver that if he wants to climb the ladder of success, he needs to keep his eyes on the road and never look back. But as soon as Hwang leaves, the driver discovers a hidden bag in the front trunk, and whatever is inside has him visibly shaken. At the same time, Mrs. Hwang hands over the company's slush fund ledgers to the mistress, promising to help her navigate the fallout. Detective Suk-hun is summoned to the cemetery by Soo-hyun, where he is hit with a bombshell. Kim might be back. Suk-hun thinks Soo-hyun has finally lost his mind. How can a dead man return? But Soo-hyun explains that he managed to clone Kim's phone earlier. By simply turning on the device, he was able to track Kim's location and read his texts. He reveals that the signal pinged at the Sun Trang estate, and a message was even sent to Ki-tae from that phone, offering to trade the original documents. Soo-hyun followed the signal to the cemetery, but the place was empty. He now suspects that Kim was murdered by someone who wanted to frame him, and that same killer is now using Kim's identity to create total chaos. Soo-hyun still doesn't fully trust the detective, telling Suk-hun that he'll reveal the whole truth only after the real killer is behind bars. As Suk-hun drives away, Soo-hyun's words haunt him. He begins to realize that his own involvement in the kidnapping case was orchestrated by a mysterious hand. He places a call to Ki-tae's assistant, who answers with the cold, focused expression of a hunter who has finally found his prey. In the gallery, Ki-tae is waiting for a mysterious visitor, but when the person finally appears, even the cold chairman looks completely bewildered. Meanwhile, Soo-hyun is holding an SD card, waiting for the perfect moment to shift the tides of the game. He returns home, unaware that Eun-soo, having given up on him, has gone to see his brother. Back at the house, Yeon-woo's mental state is deteriorating again as he begins to remember the terrifying things the kidnappers said to him. Down by the river, Hwang's driver stands in hesitation, staring at a leather shoe in his bag, wondering if he should throw it into the water to bury the truth forever. The investigation is dredging up ghosts Soo-hyun has tried to bury for years. His high school years are a recurring nightmare he can never escape. Back then, to protect his mother and Kim, Soo-hyun had actually dumped the body of a high school girl into a lake. Tonight, he wakes up in a cold sweat, haunted by that memory. The recent string of murders has pushed him to the absolute breaking point, to the point where he considers jumping into the lake to end his own life. But just as he is about to give up, his phone pings with a new signal from Kim's clone device. He follows the tracker to the gallery, where he spots the killer's car. He tails the vehicle to the cemetery, where it stays for exactly 15 minutes. Soo-hyun deduces that the killer must have hidden the originals there. He hides in the shadows until the car leaves, then begins a frantic search through the offerings left at the grave sites. As if guided by fate, Soo-hyun discovers a small statue with an SD card hidden beneath its base. This is the original documents that have caused so much bloodshed and chaos. But as he looks down, he realizes with a jolt of horror that he is standing over Jun-young's grave. Back at the mansion, Ki-tae receives a call from Yeo-jin, informing him that Soo-hyun never showed up for the broadcast. Sensing that something is terribly wrong, Ki-tae frantically summons his assistant. He then waits for the person who requested the private meeting, and his jaw drops when the visitor is finally revealed. It's Director Choi's stepdaughter. As the stepdaughter leaves the cemetery that day, she has no idea that Soo-hyun is watching her every move from the shadows. The hidden truth is slowly coming into focus. Soo-hyun deduces that after Kim's death, the stepdaughter must have snatched his phone. Following the chaos involving her and the mistress's son, she decides to use the original documents as her ultimate leverage. With news breaking about the mistress's son being detained, she reaches out to Ki-tae to make a trade. However, Soo-hyun believes she's just made a fatal mistake. While she thinks she's being clever in Ki-tae's eyes, she is nothing more than a petty, insignificant player. Ki-tae isn't the only force behind this conspiracy, but for now, she holds what he wants. Her demand? Ki-tae must ensure she is cleared of any involvement in Jun-young's death. Ki-tae agrees, but he notes with a cold look that this isn't going to end as simply as she thinks. The plot takes a massive turn when Detective Suk-hun shows up at the gallery. He didn't expect to run into his stepdaughter there, but he decides to test his theory. He dials Kim's number. Sure enough, the phone in her pocket starts ringing. The stepdaughter is stunned. She had no clue that Suk-hun was actually working for Ki-tae this entire time. Suk-hun seizes Kim's phone and goes straight to meet the chairman. Analyzing the case further, Soo-hyun realizes that Kim's killer might be someone else entirely. Right now, the three people most desperate for those original files are Soo-hyun himself, Kitae, and Huang. Back at the station, the anchorwoman is riding high on social media fame after her evening broadcast, but Soo-hyun's own team is in total shambles. With Soo-hyun still missing, his primetime slot is being handed over to others. Yeojin seizes this opportunity to hold a high-level meeting to officially fire him. During the meeting, she puts on a show of being a responsible leader, announcing her own resignation to take full responsibility, though in reality, she already has her next job lined up at the Blue House. Ba claims she will strictly punish Soo-hyun and insists that Hwang's defamation lawsuit against him is a personal matter that won't affect the station. Outside the door, a colleague overhears the betrayal and gets a call from Soo-hyun. Soo-hyun is eerily calm, telling him that the tide is about to turn because he finally has the original documents in his hands. Soo-hyun reveals his theory. There were 2 deaths on that fateful day. Junyoung died in an accident, but Kim was cold-bloodedly murdered. He suspects that the stepdaughter isn't the killer, and that the prime suspect is actually Hwang. However, he needs proof. He asks his colleague to dig up everything they can on Hwang's personal driver. At that very moment, the driver is standing by the river, paralyzed with guilt. He has been clutching a blood-stained leather shoe for a long time, unable to bring himself to throw it into the water. Suddenly, his phone rings. It's Soo-hyun. Meanwhile, Soo-hyun's brother is in his darkroom developing photos when Eun-soo calls, wanting to meet. He is overjoyed at the prospect. Down by the river, Soo-hyun confronts the driver. The driver panics, unable to find his words. Soo-hyun sees a reflection of his younger self in the man's terrified eyes and warns him. Tell the truth now, or you'll spend the rest of your life haunted by this guilt. The driver doesn't answer and quickly speeds off to pick up Hwang. Soo-hyun refuses to let it go and calls his colleague to check if Hwang's official car was ever returned to the garage on the night of the incident. The colleague urges Soo-hyun to get home because his wife is frantically searching for him. But when Soo-hyun arrives, the house is cold and empty. He receives a heartbreaking text from his son, Yeon-woo, who is looking for his mother. Little does he know, Eun-soo has gone to see his brother. She confronts the brother, asking if he told Soo-hyun something that made him stay away from home. The brother acts deeply hurt by the accusation, swearing that no matter what happens, he would never do anything to hurt her. Eun-soo keeps pushing the brother away, her suspicion of him growing by the second. In a fit of desperate obsession, Soo-hyun's brother claims that he is the only one who truly loves her far more than Soo-hyun ever could. However, when Soo-hyun calls, Eun-soo doesn't hesitate. She chooses her husband and walks away. This rejection only fuels the brother's burning hatred for Soo-hyun, and he begins to tail her car in a jealous rage. Eun-soo lies to Soo-hyun, telling him she is at her father's house, but Soo-hyun sees right through it. The disappointment of being lied to yet again by his wife hits him hard. Meanwhile, Kitae's assistant tracks down Soo-hyun's location, but the chairman has bigger priorities. He needs to confirm the whereabouts of the original documents. He summons Director Choi to his estate. Knowing Choi is drowning in financial debt that involves Kitae's own investments, Kitae delivers a cold ultimatum. He reminds Choi that he could crush his company in minutes. His orders are clear. Find the original documents and silence the stepdaughter for good. At the station, Suk-hun brings the stepdaughter in for questioning, and she drops a bombshell. The original files are in Soo-hyun's hands. At the same time, Director Choi is frantically ransacking his own house, horrified that his daughter has dug such a massive grave for both of them. He calls her, screaming that if those documents aren't found, Kitae will have both their heads. Kitae decides it's time to strike. His plan is simple. It doesn't matter who has the files if he can just give the public a monster to focus on. He decides to serve up a true killer responsible for 3 murders, calculating that the world will be too distracted by the blood to care about the documents. Now, he just needs a sacrificial lamb. His assistant suggests throwing the mistress under the bus. As for Hwang, Kitae decides to honor their agreement for now. Back at his hideout, Soo-hyun is busy copying the original files when Suk-hun calls to pick a fight. Suk-hun is furious that Soo-hyun's suspicions have derailed the investigation, but Soo-hyun is blunt. I have the originals, and I saw the stepdaughter hiding at the cemetery. Suk-hun realizes that since the mistress's son didn't know about this, there must be another accomplice involved. Soo-hyun suggests using the messy relationship between the son and the stepdaughter to squeeze out the truth. When Eun-soo returns home, a massive fight erupts. She accuses Soo-hyun of keeping too many secrets, but he fires back, telling her that she is the one with something to hide. Just then, the brother shows up at their door. Eun-soo is paralyzed with fear, terrified that her secret is about to explode. Soo-hyun is blindsided. He never imagined that his wife's other man was his own brother. Soo-hyun storms out of the estate to confront him. The brother sneers that Soo-hyun only cares about the news and doesn't give a damn about Eun-soo, and then he drops a nuclear revelation. Yeon-woo is actually his biological son. Infuriated, Soo-hyun loses it and levels his brother with a powerful punch. The dark truth finally comes to light. Years ago, The brother was a drug addict who literally sold his own child, Yunwoo, to Soo-hyun and Eun-soo just to fund his next fix. Now he's back, playing the part of a devoted father. Soo-hyun is disgusted, reminding him that he was the one who extorted Ki-tae for money and kept coming back for more once the cash ran out. Realizing he won't get the boy back, the brother demands that Soo-hyun at least give Eun-ho back to him. It's then that Soo-hyun realizes the brother is completely delusional. He's been treating Eun-soo as a replacement for her deceased sister, Eun-ho. Eun-soo rushes out and screams at him that Eun-ho is dead. Devastated by her husband's disappointment and the brother's endless obsession, she flees back to her father's house in shame. She later explains to Soo-hyun that years ago, she had a weak moment and took the child to see his biological father, which led to a twisted, forbidden affair that she now feels she can never atone for. While the families are falling apart, the anchorwoman and Yeojin are at a bar, celebrating their victory. The anchorwoman is gloating, finally savoring the primetime seat she fought so hard for. She asks Yeojin who else she's working with besides Hwang. When Yeojin reveals she's backed by the power of Ki-tae himself, the anchorwoman feels untouchable. She realizes that with Yeojin and these two titans behind her, she can climb to the highest peaks of power without ever having to fear the fall. Yeojin tries to pull the anchorwoman to a hotel for another secret rendezvous, but the anchorwoman skillfully brushes her off. She claims she needs to head home immediately to delete that incriminating hidden camera footage of the two of them. Meanwhile, Soo-hyun gets a bizarre call from a hotel. They tell him his car is parked there. He rushes over, and the staff explains that because they couldn't reach the guest in the room, they tracked the car's registration and contacted him. They refuse, however, to reveal who was staying in the room. Soo-hyun checks the dashcam recordings in his car and hears the gut-wrenching dialogue between Eun-soo and his brother. He even finds the exact location where the two had been meeting. Soo-hyun, who had desperately wanted to believe in his wife, now feels the ultimate sting of betrayal knowing he has been thoroughly cuckolded. Director Choi heads back to Jun Young's grave to find the SD card, but it's gone. When Ki-tae hears the news, he deduces that the original documents must be in Soo-hyun's hands. He immediately orders his assistant to handle Hwang once and for all. As for his mistress, he drops a cold-blooded bombshell. He tells her that her lover, the assistant, was never actually her lover. He was a spy planted by Ki-tae from the very beginning. The mistress is stunned. She realized too late that she was never even in the same league as this old man. Hwang is still busy preparing his defamation lawsuit against Soo-hyun, flooding every news outlet with the story. However, he starts to panic when he realizes he can't reach his driver. Where is the driver? He is currently at the police station with a smoking gun, a leather shoe. This shoe is an exact match for the one found at the scene where Junyoung died. Same brand, same size. The police also find bloodstains in the car and are rushing the DNA tests. It looks like Hwang's entire world is about to collapse. Soo-hyun follows the dashcam GPS to the affair's secret hideout, an abandoned house. He finds a pile of receipts on the floor addressed to his brother's wife. One of them is an insurance claim for a car accident involving Park on the day of the kidnapping. The receipt even includes a photo of the brother and his wife. Soo-hyun's mind begins to race as he connects the dots. He remembers that on the day of the kidnapping, the kidnappers wanted to make the trade but suddenly changed the location, claiming someone was following them. That person was Park. Then, his brother's South car crashed into Park's. Park had mentioned that his dashcam caught the real killer. Could his own brother have orchestrated the entire kidnapping? Soo-hyun is speechless with fury. The monster he has been hunting was right next to him all along. He storms into Ki-tae's house, grabs a hunting rifle, and tells Eun-soo the brutal truth. His brother only got close to her to lure Yun-woo out. Soo-hyun then forces his brother at gunpoint to drive to a remote, desolate area. Eun-soo frantically calls Suk-hyun, who immediately orders his men to track Soo-hyun's vehicle. In the wilderness, Soo-hyun shoves the insurance documents in his brother's face, accusing him of being the killer. The brother becomes hysterical. He admits to the affair but swears he never murdered anyone. Suddenly, he realizes something. Soo-hyun isn't doing this because of the kidnapping, he is doing it because the brother slept with Eun-soo. He starts taunting Soo-hyun, mocking his mental instability. Soo-hyun racks the shotgun. A shot rings out. He shoots his brother in the leg, screaming that he is the mastermind behind the abduction. The brother just laughs. He asks why he would ever kidnap Yun-woo and mistake his own son's identity. He tells Soo-hyun that in his heart, Soo-hyun just needs him to be the killer. He continues to provoke him, bragging about his nights in the hotel with Eun-soo while Soo-hyun was missing. Soo-hyun is blinded by the green of his wife's betrayal. Just as Suk-hyun arrives at the scene, the brother delivers one last chilling provocation. He tells Soo-hyun that the boy lost a leather shoe. Soo-hyun loses it and is about to finish him off right there, but Suk-hyun tackles him just in time. The detective manages to stop the murder and slaps the handcuffs on Soo-hyun, while his brother is rushed to the hospital. Soo-hyun looks Suk-hun in the eye and insists his brother is the biological father of Yeon-woo and is completely unstable, meaning he is, without a doubt, the real killer. But Suk-hun thinks Soo-hyun has finally spiraled into a dark obsession. After all, the missing shoe and the bloodstains were found in Hwang's car, and Park's crash appeared to be a routine accident. Soo-hyun retorts that this is all an elaborate setup, even going as far as to accuse Suk-hun of being bought off to frame Hwang. Meanwhile, the mistress holds her promised press conference. She formally resigns as the head of the Cultural Foundation and teases the public, claiming she has one more massive bombshell she is prepared to reveal. At the same time, Hwang is swarmed by reporters. He brags to the cameras about his defamation lawsuit against Soo-hyun, looking smug right up until the police move in and arrest him on the spot for kidnapping and murder. The look of utter shock on his face is priceless. It's a public slap in the face he never saw coming. Watching the arrest on the news, the mistress is secretly thrilled. She packs her bags and leaves, feeling like she has finally won. Because the brother chose not to press charges, Soo-hyun is released from custody. However, he remains defiant, arguing that Hwang is just a pawn. Why else, he asks, would Park go to a powerhouse like Kitae to make a deal? Suk-hun counters that since Park also contacted Soo-hyun and the anchorwoman, everyone is still a suspect. Once Soo-hyun is out, the pieces of the puzzle start feeling wrong. He realizes the brother's claim about being in the hotel with Eun-soo might have just been a calculated move to provoke him. Interestingly, Suk-hun starts having his own doubts about his brother. Why? Because the brother mentioned a missing shoe, a specific detail about the crime scene that the media had never reported. If Hwang is convicted, the mistress's son and the stepdaughter will be off the hook. So Suk-hun knows his time to find the real truth is running out. The mistress demands a meeting with Kitae, threatening to drag him down with her if he refuses. Kitae, ever the pragmatist, agrees to see her. In his jail cell, Hwang is surprisingly relaxed, eating a hearty meal. He mocks Suk-hun, telling him not to play with fire in front of a political pro like himself, claiming Suk-hun's little tricks are childish play. He then demands to see his wife and director Choi, claiming he has an ironclad alibi. He was with Choi on the night of the murder. Back at home, director Choi is a hollow shell of a man, haunted by Jun Young's portrait. He is consumed by the agonizing thought that if he had just spoken the truth sooner, the boy might still be alive. Eun-soo calls the brother to confront him about the kidnapping, but he dismisses it as Soo-hyun slinging mud at him. When she tries to visit him in the hospital, he flatly refuses to see her. Soo-hyun heads to his brother's company to dig for the truth. Staff members claim the brother was filming a documentary at a restaurant on the day of the crime. The catch? It was a blind dining restaurant, a place where you eat in total darkness, so there were no cameras and the room was pitch black. However, the manager confirms the brother was there until late at night. Seeking more answers, Soo-hyun decides to track down the brother's blind girlfriend. At the hospital, the wife, the blind girlfriend, visits her husband, but he treats her with cold indifference. Even though she can't see, she can feel his heart has turned away from her. She reveals a major secret. She is pregnant, hoping this news will bring him back to her. Instead of joy, the brother reacts with pure shock and no happiness. Eun-soo finally makes it to the hospital to see the brother, but only to end things for good. She tells him their affair has gone too far and she is breaking it off before any more innocent people get hurt. The brother refuses to let go. Meanwhile, Soo-hyun arrives at his brother's house but can't find the wife. Just then, Eun-soo calls him, wanting to talk. At the police station, Mrs. Hwang throws a curveball at Suk-hun. She tells him to investigate their driver. She claims the driver had been blackmailing Hwang and that she had paid him off multiple times. She says she thought it was a small issue at first, but his demands were becoming out of control. For now, the mistress seems to have escaped the eye of the storm, enjoying a rare moment of peace. Kitae's face is a mask of cold calculation. He knows his mistress isn't about to walk away without a massive payday. She makes him an offer. If Kitae deals with the Hwang problem, she is willing to take the fall for all the conglomerate's dirty laundry. But in exchange, Kitae has to revise his will to include an inheritance of shares for her son, and he has to hand over half of it up front. Kitae just smirks. He is impressed by her greed, but he realizes it's worth the price to get rid of this ticking time bomb. He agrees to her demands. Meanwhile, the police investigation takes a turn. They discover the Hwang's driver has a history of emotional adjustment disorder and a prior administrative record. Detective Suk-hun immediately smells a rat he suspects Mrs. Hwang is trying to exploit the driver's mental history to frame him for the crime. He is convinced the couple has coordinated their lies to make the driver the perfect scapegoat. At the station, the mistress's son is still in custody, and he is starting to crack. Realizing his high-priced lawyers are useless, he kicks them out and asks Suk-hun for a private conversation, requesting that the cameras and recorders be shut off. He starts to spill, admitting that he fell asleep after leaving the White House and later went looking for the boy with his stepdaughter. He confesses they hit something during the blackout. But just as he is about to say more, a lawyer bursts in, whispers something in his ear, and the kid immediately flips his script, pleading not guilty. Suk-hun is left fuming at the blatant manipulation. The stepdaughter is playing her own game. She demands that her lawyer check if the anchorwoman is still her ally. Her leverage? She tells the lawyer to mention the pill bottle to her. The moment the anchorwoman hears about the pills, she spirals into a panic. She immediately calls the mistress, knowing she is about to take the fall for her son. She blackmails the mistress, telling her that if she doesn't want the stepdaughter to flip her testimony, she must provide the girl with a foolproof alibi. To protect her son, the mistress is forced to agree. Back at home, the tension between Soo-hyun and Eun-soo is suffocating. They both know the end is near but don't know where to start. Soo-hyun silently hands her the car key from the hotel, a quiet, devastating move. Eun-soo is drowning in guilt, telling him she hopes he can finally find peace from the pain. But after Soo-hyun leaves, she makes a horrifying discovery. The SD card from the dashcam is gone. She knows Soo-hyun took it. She knows he has seen the evidence of her betrayal. She collapses in the car, sobbing in total, agonizing shame. Ki-tae officially revises his will. The mistress knows the deal. Once she confesses, the shares will be hers. She reflects on the kidnapping, realizing that Ki-tae was cold enough to use his own grandson's life as a bargaining chip. It's a lesson she won't forget. She takes the documents and walks away with a swagger, but she has no intention of spending her life behind bars. She is already plotting her escape from prison. Meanwhile, we learn the real reason Director Choi was under Hwang's thumb. Hwang caught him embezzling Ki-tae's money. Ki-tae tells Choi he is lucky to be alive and offers him a deal: provide false testimony to save the stepdaughter and clear his own embezzlement charges. Choi agrees and tells Suk-hun he was away on business and never saw Hwang that night, but he drops a hint that the real killer is someone else. Suk-hun then gets a new, bizarre testimony from the stepdaughter. She now claims that the car that hit someone that night wasn't the son's car, but the mistress's car. She adds that the person they hit was Kim, and she accidentally picked up his phone from the ground and brought it home. Suk-hun sees through the lie instantly. Outside the police station, the media is in a frenzy. The mistress is arriving to surrender, but she doesn't look like a criminal. Dressed to the nines and radiating confidence, she looks like she is walking the red carpet for a major product launch. Watching the mistress surrender from a distance, the stepdaughter wears a smug, satisfied grin. Director Choi, completely lost, demands to know what on earth she actually knows. She just laughs in his face, mocking him by saying even the news anchor is in the loop, while he remains the only one in the dark. To her, everything is finally settled. Inside the interrogation room, the mistress delivers her rehearsed confession. She claims she was in a blind rage after finding out she was left out of the will and drove to the estate to confront Ki-tae. On the way, she says she accidentally hit someone. Just then, she claims Hwang called her, saying his wife had witnessed the whole thing, and he offered to cover it up for her. She says they moved the body, and she sent the car to the scrapyard, claiming she only realized the victim was Kim after seeing it on the news. At that exact moment, Suk-hun receives the forensic report. The DNA found in Hwang's car is a perfect match for Kim. On paper, the case is closed. Hwang is the kidnapper and killer, and the mistress is the hit-and-run driver. Hwang, realizing he is being framed for everything, loses his mind in his cell, screaming about the injustice. While the other detectives are celebrating a job well done, Suk-hun is heavy-hearted. His instincts are screaming that this is way too convenient to be the truth. Soo-hyun continues to dig into his brother's alibi. The brother's wife tells him that on the night of the crime, the roads were deserted and the rain was pouring when they rear-ended Park's car. She insists they handled it through insurance and stayed home together until morning. She accuses Soo-hyun of being obsessed with framing his brother just because of the affair. She tells him flatly that unlike him, she will always trust her husband. After being discharged from the hospital, the brother remembers his wife's words, how she stayed by his side and how he became her eyes. He hesitates outside his home for a long time, but ultimately he turns away. His wife waits up for him until late, but he never shows. Instead, he heads straight to the church to find Eun-soo. Soo-hyun arrives at the church shortly after and notices something that makes his blood run cold. He sees a specific sticker on the back of a car and a realization hits him like a lightning bolt. The brother's wife had mentioned that Park's car had a new driver sticker on it during the accident. But how could a blind woman possibly know about a small sticker on the back of a car? The truth is staggering. She has been faking her blindness this entire time, and based on the brother's behavior, he clearly has no idea. Inside the church, Eun-soo tries to end the affair for good, telling the brothers they need to return to their real lives and encouraging him to live better. Meanwhile, back at home, the blind wife is caught on camera perfectly fine, looking through her husband's videos with an expression that shifts from sadness to something far more sinister. Soo-hyun returns to his brother's company, where a staff member reveals that the wife was also present during the documentary shoot. Soo-hyun reviews the footage but can't find his brother anywhere in it. The staff explains that the brother's throat was hurting that day, so the wife relayed all his instructions to the crew. Soo-hyun realizes the perfect loophole. The brother snuck out while the wife made everyone think he was still backstage directing. Meanwhile, as the news of the mistress's arrest breaks, Ki-tae turns his attention to Eun-soo. He suggests she go away for a few days to clear her head and coldly advises her to divorce Soo-hyun. He tells her that a broken plate, no matter how perfectly you glue it back together, will always have a crack. Ki-tae isn't done playing puppet master. He has surveillance footage of Yeojin at the estate, and since he is the one who got her the Blue House nomination, he uses it as a noose around her neck. He demands she handle Soo-hyun immediately. Yeojin and the anchorwoman quickly pivot to compile a file to destroy Soo-hyun's career, though the anchorwoman seems to be losing her nerve. Yeojin snaps at her, saying once Soo-hyun is dealt with, their lives can go back to normal, and tells her to prepare for the final blow tomorrow. As the episode closes, Soo-hyun uncovers one final, shocking piece of the puzzle. The brother's wife didn't just quit Ki-tae's conglomerate 3 years ago. Soo-hyun uncovers another disturbing fact. His brother and his blind wife have only known each other for 3 years. Could she be a plant from Ki-tae's empire? With a headache that feels like it's splitting his skull, Soo-hyun treats his own brother as a prime suspect and begins to meticulously map out the timeline. He realizes the brother had a clear window of opportunity during the documentary shoot from 8:40 p.m. to 11:05 p.m. That's more than enough time to kidnap Yeon-woo and return. It was a Saturday, and the drive to the estate would only take 20 minutes. He kidnaps the boy while his wife provides the perfect alibi. Then, at 10 p.m., he intentionally cuts the power to wipe the security footage, staying at the estate for about 50 minutes. But then comes the fatal mistake. He realizes he grabbed the wrong child. In a cold-blooded move, he kills Jun-young in the wilderness and heads back to the restaurant. The timeline gets even more surgical. After dinner, he reaches the abandoned factory at 12:40 a.m. On the way, he crashes into Park's car. By 12:45 a.m., the location for the ransom drop was suddenly changed. But Soo-hyun is haunted by one question. Why then? Why would his brother rush to commit such a crime at that specific moment when there were better opportunities to take Yeon-woo? He suspects his brother wasn't acting alone, that Ki-tae was the puppet master pulling the strings. As these thoughts consume him, Soo-hyun's mental stability begins to slip again, forcing him to take a pill just to keep from spiraling. Meanwhile, the mistress's son sees his mother surrender to the police, but his lawyer urges him to flee the country immediately. Infuriated, the son abandons the lawyer and storms out of the station. In his cell, Hwang remains defiant, claiming the driver killed Jun-young and insisting he was with director Choi that night. When Soo-hyun grills Choi for the truth, Hwang just smirks. He can't exactly admit that Choi was busy beating the life out of him, so he lies and says they were discussing asset management. Soo-hyun pretends to believe him just to see if he slip up, but Hwang turns the tables, asking Soo-hyun if he is actually Ki-tae's man. The question leaves Soo-hyun speechless. Back at the Hwang residence, Mrs. Hwang is fuming their driver has successfully fled the country, and even his mother has been moved from her nursing home to an unknown location. To make matters worse, Director Choi has changed his testimony again. It looks like Hwang is officially a dead man walking. The mistress's scheme was flawless. She cleaned up every loose end. Soo-hyun's investigation uncovers more lies. The hotel records prove that both Choi and Hwang were lying. Choi left the hotel before 10 p.m., likely to track down Hwang. Soo-hyun finds it strange that with a dead child, these men are more focused on power moves than finding the killer. He realizes Choi is being blackmailed by Ki-tae, who is the biggest client of Choi's firm. Soo-hyun recalls Ki-tae's cryptic words from that night. You've been at this longer than I thought. The web of corruption is getting deeper and more tangled by the hour. Soo-hyun wakes up from a sudden sleep with a jolt of clarity. He realizes his brother had an accomplice. The car accident between his brother and Park happened at 1:14 a.m., but Soo-hyun himself had seen the killer in the abandoned house at 1:08 a.m. He couldn't have been in two places at once. Meanwhile, Soo-hyun reviews the hospital's security footage from when the brother was admitted. He sees the sickeningly intimate behavior between Eun-soo and the brother in the hospital room. Finally, Soo-hyun realizes Soo-hyun wasn't crazy, he was right all along. Back at the mansion, the mistress's son levers a gun at Ki-tae, screaming that the chairman pushed his mother into a jail cell. He is hysterical, threatening to kill the old man, but Ki-tae doesn't even flinch. He knows the boy doesn't have the guts. In the struggle, Ki-tae easily disarms him. He looks at the boy with pure disgust, mocking him by saying his mother wasted her life trying to save a son who is utterly worthless. Soo-hyun returns to the news station, obsessively scouring his files for the missing link. His colleagues warn him that Yeojin has him in her crosshairs, but Soo-hyun refuses to stop. Finally, his persistence pays off. In a hidden piece of surveillance footage, Soo-hyun finds the ultimate proof. His brother's blind wife and Ki-tae's assistant meeting in secret. The assistant hands her a massive stack of cash, and her response is chilling. "I don't want to do this anymore." It turns out Ki-tae had a master plan all along. He had planted the blind wife to spy on the brother. But in a twist even he didn't see coming, she actually developed real feelings for him. The assistant used this against her, threatening to tell the brother she was faking her blindness unless she kept reporting to them. Meanwhile, at the station, Soo-hyun is on the verge of being purged. Yeojin tries to give him an out, advising him to flee to Singapore for 2 weeks until the heat dies down. But Soo-hyun looks her in the eye and tells her he has already passed the point of no return. Seeing no other choice, Yeojin decides to bury him tonight, officially freezing all operations for his news team. Soo-hyun tries to hand over the evidence against his brother to Detective Suk-hun, but Suk-hun has reached his limit. He demands that Soo-hyun finally reveal the dark secret he has been burying, or their partnership is dead. Soo-hyun finally cracks and confesses the truth about the lake. The high school girl who was murdered years ago was a classmate they both knew. Soo-hyun was the one who dumped her body into the water. A shocked Suk-hun lunges at him, demanding to know if he was the killer. Soo-hyun explains that back then, he had to destroy all the evidence to protect the people who were left, specifically Kim. He begs Suk-hun to help him close this kidnapping case first, promising to turn himself in afterward. But Suk-hun is disgusted, calling Soo-hyun a selfish man who only pretends to be a man of justice. That night, the anchorwoman takes over the broadcast and launches a full-scale character assassination on Soo-hyun, exposing his connection to the cold case at the lake. Hearing this news, Ki-tae is so shaken he can't even finish his dinner. Outside, Eun-soo and Yeon-woo are absolutely swarmed by reporters demanding answers about Soo-hyun's past, turning their lives into a living hell. Driven to the edge, Eun-soo decides to strike back. She has Ki-tae's assistant track down the anchorwoman's private doctor and seize her family's medical records. Even though the anchorwoman has successfully taken Soo-hyun's spot, she isn't happy. She is seen drinking alone at home, staring at Jun-young's portrait. Director Choi begs her to let go of the hate and start over, even offering a photo of him beating Hwang as leverage for her career. But she tears it up. Her only goal in this world is to destroy Soo-hyun. Eun-soo officially declares war, refusing to see the brother, and using the anchorwoman's medical records to contact a rival TV station to leak her own bombshell. Meanwhile, Suk-hun takes the brother into custody as a witness for the investigation. With the brother occupied and Suk-hun providing a distraction, Soo-hyun seizes the chance to break into the brother's house. On the way to the station, the brother asks Suk-hun about his relationship with Soo-hyun. Suk-hun flashes back to the biggest secret of all. The person who actually killed the girl at the lake was Soo-hyun's father. The brother continues to taunt Suk-hun, mentioning that he has heard Ki-tae speak about the detective many times, making Suk-hun feel like he is being watched. Inside the brother's house, the atmosphere is suffocating. Soo-hyun's mental state begins to fracture again as he enters a room covered wall-to-wall with obsessive photos of his wife, Eun-soo. He even finds her missing ring there. The depth of his brother's obsession makes his skin crawl. Meanwhile, on the road, the brother suddenly tasers Suk-hun, knocking him unconscious, and races back home to confront Soo-hyun. But before they can face off, a breaking news report hits the screen. The brother has been found dead in his home. The scene is staged perfectly to make him the ultimate scapegoat. The police find the murder weapon used to kill Park and a video on his computer showing him rehearsing the kidnapping. The police have officially constructed a narrative. They believe the brother had been obsessed with Eun-soo for years, harboring a sick fantasy of starting a new family with her. This obsession, they claim, led him to kidnap Yeon-woo. However, after realizing he had grabbed the wrong child, he cold-bloodedly murdered Jun-young instead. To make matters worse, they believe Soo-hyun had discovered these clues early on but was too ashamed of the family scandal to call the police. Instead, he went to his brother's house to settle things himself. Now, with the brother dead and Soo-hyun found unconscious at the scene, with no one else caught on CCTV, the star anchor has become the prime suspect in his own brother's murder. As the investigation intensifies, Soo-hyun is hauled in for questioning. He adamantly insists that his brother took his own life specifically to frame him. But the evidence at the scene tells a much darker story. The police found Soo-hyun's own psychiatric medication at the house, drugs known to cause severe side effects like hallucinations and memory loss. The authorities now have a perfect theory. Soo-hyun murdered his brother in a state of mental collapse and simply forgot the entire process of the crime. Detective Suk-hun suspects Soo-hyun is still guarding a deep secret, but under immense pressure from his superiors, the captain is pushing to close the case and head to trial as quickly as possible. Despite the mounting evidence against Soo-hyun, Suk-hun still has a gut feeling that something is off. There were no signs of the brother trying to escape or calling for help. He only sent a single apology text to his wife. Suk-hun is convinced there must be an accomplice involved. Suddenly, a mysterious phone call brings a visitor directly to the police station, to see Sukhan, a move that doesn't go unnoticed by his colleagues. Meanwhile, Ki-tae's assistant reports on Soo-hyun's legal downward spiral. Infuriated that he still hasn't secured the original documents, Ki-tae decides it's time to deal with Soo-hyun personally. Director Choi, also feeling the chairman's crushing pressure, officially resigns. But he is left shattered by the memories of Jun-young as the memorial service approaches. Back at the news station, the anchorwoman has finally reached the peak of her career, sitting in the seat she dreamed of with skyrocketing ratings. But instead of triumph, she feels hollow and exhausted. Yeo-jin wants to run a special feature on the brother's case, but the anchorwoman is too drained to even show interest. With Soo-hyun suspended and his career seemingly over, his news team is like ants on a hot pan, desperately trying to find a way to save him. During an emergency discussion, the team reviews footage of Soo-hyun at the hotel. This leads the anchorwoman to a shocking hypothesis. Eun-soo and the brother had a long-term affair, making Eun-soo the likely accomplice. She points out a massive red flag. If the brother was truly that obsessed, why were there no love letters or journals found in his house? It looks like a calculated cover-up. She rushes to confront Eun-soo, suggesting that Jun-young was murdered because he accidentally caught her and the brother together. Eun-soo denies everything, claiming the brother's only goal that night was to kidnap Yeon-woo. But then, a breakthrough occurs. Yeon-woo walks out of his room, having miraculously regained his sight. The anchorwoman tries to pressure the boy into revealing what he saw that night, forcing him to relive the trauma. A chilling memory resurfaces in the boy's mind. On that fateful night, Kim had mistaken Jun-young for Yeon-woo. Because Jun-young didn't speak up or clarify his identity, Yeon-woo was consumed by a childish fit of rage and ran out of the house into the street. Overwhelmed by the memory and the weight of the adults fighting, Yeon-woo refuses to say another word and flees back into the safety of his room. Heartbroken by how her child is being used as a pawn, Eun-soo decides to strike back and contacts a rival news station to leak her own story. Meanwhile, Hwang has managed to dodge the murder charge for Jun-young, but he is still being held for a hit and run. He finds the whole thing ridiculous, claiming he actually brought the victim home that night. Since the previous testimonies from the mistress and director Choi were thrown out, and with the mistress in jail for money laundering and Choi out of a job, Hwang is on his own. His wife tells him to just plead guilty, but Hwang is convinced she is holding onto a secret ace that could save his life. In prison, the mistress gets a visit from her son, who confirms that the company shares are finally in their hands. A massive weight is lifted off her shoulders, but she is still wary of the stepdaughter's silence and warns her son to stay on his guard. The son then calls the stepdaughter, and the two exchange icy warnings, telling each other not to make any rogue moves. Back at home, Director Choi finds the anchorwoman fast asleep on the sofa. On the table, he sees her latest research. She has tracked the ransom money. We're talking 5 billion won in transfers and 500 million in cash. Choi realizes that if she keeps digging, the trail will lead straight back to him, and he starts to panic. Detective Sukhan visits the blind wife, and based on her reaction, he is certain she already knows the brother is dead and is deliberately shielding an accomplice. However, she refuses to talk. Sukhan then confronts the assistant, who admits he sent the wife to spy on the brother, but he never expected her to actually fall in love and get pregnant. Sukhan tries to understand why Ki-tae was in such a rush to bury the investigation years ago, but the assistant just reminds him that loyalty to the chairman is the only rule that matters. When the anchorwoman finally wakes up, her documents are gone. Choi has burned them all. He pressures her to attend Jun-young's memorial, but she is obsessed with finding the killer and wants to cancel it. She is convinced that everyone involved is hiding something, and she won't stop until she finds the truth. Meanwhile, the financial crimes unit is swarming Choi's company. The suspicious profits from his private equity funds have caught the attention of both the police and the banks. Just as the anchorwoman is in the middle of her broadcast, the staff starts whispering and pointing at her. A rival station has just dropped a nuclear bombshell. She is being accused of child abuse. The news spreads like wildfire, giving Yeo-jin a massive headache. She just promoted this woman, and now her reputation is in the trash. Yeo-jin frantically calls the director of the rival station, threatening war if they don't pull the story, but it's too late. The scandal is already the #1 hot search. Shattered, the anchorwoman walks out of the studio. Yeo-jin tries to get her to pull herself together, but the anchorwoman realizes this isn't just a random rumor. She suspects someone is deliberately manipulating public opinion to distract everyone from the kidnapping case. She feels like there is a puppet master in the shadows controlling everything, and she even begins to suspect that Yeo-jin might be part of the cover-up. Yeo-jin desperately tries to convince her to stop digging before she sinks even deeper into the mess. But the anchorwoman refuses to stop. She is convinced that someone is pulling these strings just to keep a dark secret buried. Sensing the situation is spiraling out of control, Yeo-jin takes a deep breath, fearing that something catastrophic is about to happen. Meanwhile, the anchorwoman sends a chilling text to Eun-soo, claiming she holds secrets that could utterly destroy her life. The two agree to meet at Eun-soo's office. At the station, the police are still struggling to get access to Soo-hyun's psychiatric records. Detective Suk-hun decides to have a private, off-the-record talk with Soo-hyun. He cuts the audio feed in the interrogation room and brings up the case of the girl at the lake. He knows the truth. Years ago, Soo-hyun knew his own father had murdered that girl, but he chose to dispose of the body, destroy the evidence, and stay silent. Kim, the girl's boyfriend, was arrested as the prime suspect. Although he was eventually released due to a lack of evidence, he was forever branded with the stigma of a killer. Suk-hun accuses Soo-hyun of ruining Kim's life with his silence. He then reveals a devastating piece of evidence. The ring found with the brother before he died belonged to Eun-soo, proof of their affair. Suk-hun begs Soo-hyun to stop hiding and tell him everything, revealing that he has finally identified the true accomplice. Suddenly, the anchorwoman changes the meeting spot, demanding Eun-soo meet her on the building's rooftop. Eun-soo is beyond frantic. Yeon-woo has been taken and is currently in the back of the anchorwoman's car. The anchorwoman tells the boy not to be afraid, claiming she only brought him along to get more information. Eun-soo desperately contacts Soo-hyun, screaming that the anchorwoman has kidnapped their son. This sends Soo-hyun and the police racing to the scene. On the rooftop, the anchorwoman wraps her coat around Yeon-woo to keep him warm. She thanks him for writing a letter to Jun-young and confesses that she wasn't a good mother. But now she is determined to find the truth about her son's death to give him peace in heaven. When Eun-soo arrives, the anchorwoman uses Yeon-woo as a shield, slowly forcing Eun-soo to confess the truth about Jun-young's death. Eun-soo breaks down, claiming that Soo-hyun never loved her and her relationship with the brother was mostly one-sided sympathy, admitting it wasn't a clean relationship. But it wasn't as deep as people think. The anchorwoman doesn't buy it, convinced Eun-soo is involved in the murder. Just then, Soo-hyun, the police, and director Choi arrive. Soo-hyun drops a bombshell. The brother knew Jun-young was Soo-hyun's biological son. After realizing he kidnapped the wrong child, his hatred for Soo-hyun drove him to kill the boy. But the anchorwoman still won't let go. She drags Yeon-woo toward the edge, demanding to know who the accomplice was. Soo-hyun and Eun-soo are silent, but Suk-hun steps forward with the answer. It was Director Choi. The pieces of the financial puzzle finally fit. The brother had demanded a 2.5 billion won ransom, and the very next day, that exact amount appeared in Choi's account. Choi had been withdrawing the money locally to pay off Hwang's blackmail. Why did Choi become the brother's accomplice? Because Hwang and the brother had discovered Choi's massive embezzlement. To make matters worse, the brother told Choi the truth about Jun-young's real father, filling Choi's heart with a dark, vengeful resentment. The anchorwoman is paralyzed with shock. This wasn't the truth she expected. Finally, Director Choi confesses with his own mouth he was the accomplice. The anchorwoman collapses from the shock and faints, while Yeon-woo is safely rescued. The timeline of Jun-young's death finally comes into focus. It was 7:40 p.m. Kim had mistaken Jun-young for Yeon-woo. The brother had dressed in his work clothes to sneak into the hall and kidnap Yeon-woo. But then he received a call from Eun-soo, demanding to know where he had taken the boy. The brother was genuinely confused. He hadn't even made his move yet. So why was he already being blamed? The tragedy begins to unfold at the White House, where Yeon-woo and Jun-young finally go their separate ways. Jun-young is left there alone, only to witness a disturbing scene. The mistress's son and the stepdaughter are spiraling in a drug-induced haze. Terrified that the boy will expose them, the two jump into their car and frantically hunt him down. Meanwhile, after his tense meeting with Soo-hyun, Hwang is driving home when he nearly plows into Jun-young. The boy is bleeding from a fall, so Hwang gives him a handkerchief and offers to drive him home. Inside the car, Jun-young spots his mother's car passing by, but he keeps her identity a secret. Instead, he asks Hwang to take him to Yeon-woo's house. As he climbs out of the car, one of his leather shoes accidentally slips off and is left behind in Hwang's vehicle, a small detail that would later become a massive piece of evidence. At the same time, Yeo-jin is busy breaking into Soo-hyun's house. She is hunting for the original documents, but comes up empty-handed. As she leaves, she spots Jun-young in the distance. The boy is too afraid to go home and face his mother's wrath, so he seeks out Yeon-woo for help. But Yeon-woo is boiling with resentment. He is furious that Jun-young's existence has thrown his own identity as Soo-hyun's son into question. In a fit of rage, Yeon-woo hurls Jun-young's backpack off the balcony, causing the boy's medication to spill out. "If you're hurt, just take your meds," Yeon-woo screams. "I have to take mine every single day anyway." In a desperate, tragic moment, Jun-young swallows the entire bottle. With only 15 minutes of life remaining, the scene on the rooftop reaches a breaking point. Director Choi confesses to the anchorwoman that he was the accomplice behind Jun-young's death, but it's a calculated lie. The anchorwoman faints from the shock and is hauled away by the police. Yeon-woo is safely rescued, leaving Soo-hyun standing alone on the rooftop. It turns out Choi's confession wasn't born out of a guilty conscience. It was a psychological trap masterminded by Detective Suk-hun to break the anchorwoman and save the boy. Choi later clarifies to Suk-hun that he was never actually an accomplice, nor would he ever admit that Jun-young was Soo-hyun's biological son. Meanwhile, news of the kidnapping hits the airwaves, sending Ki-tae into a volcanic rage. He blames Soo-hyun for everything and vows to crush him, while pressuring his daughter to sign the divorce papers immediately. The anchorwoman is left reeling, realizing she never truly knew the man she married. While she spent her days obsessively chasing the truth, Director Choi was the one who actually protected her. She is flooded with guilt, but Choi doesn't hold a grudge. He reveals he knew about her affair all along, but his love for her and Jun-young kept him from leaving. He had been so busy dealing with Hwang's blackmail over his embezzlement that he couldn't protect the boy. Now, he only asks for one thing: the chance to be remembered as Jun-young's real husband and father. The anchorwoman is stunned by the depth of his sacrifice. Back on the rooftop, Soo-hyun is spiraling into self-loathing. He feels like a rotten man, a hypocrite who has no right to play the hero of justice. Suk-hun gives him a harsh reality check, telling him to deal with the mess in front of him and then get on his knees to apologize to the victims. Moved by the detective's words, Soo-hyun hands over his watch. The original documents were hidden inside it all along, but the game isn't over. Ki-tae has been watching Suk-hun's every move and places a call to him. Suk-hun agrees to meet the chairman in person, unaware that his own close subordinate is also tailing him. Ki-tae invites Suk-hun to dinner, but the detective has no appetite for the chairman's hospitality. He gets straight to the point, accusing Ki-tae of being the ultimate puppet master. He lays out the scheme. Ki-tae lent the ransom money, collected it back from the brother, and then laundered it by investing in Director Choi's company. Suk-hun stares the old man down and drops the final bombshell. The original documents are in my hands now. Ki-tae keeps a calm, cold expression, reminding Suk-hun that they share a deep debt of gratitude. Years ago, it was Ki-tae who stepped in to help Suk-hun clean up the murder case involving Kim and Soo-hyun. He claims he was deeply moved by Suk-hun's loyalty to his friends back then. Suk-hun acknowledges the debt and promises to repay it in the future. But for now, Ki-tae insists on nothing more than a simple meal. Suk-hun is left uneasy, unable to decipher the true motive behind the chairman's sudden hospitality. The psychological warfare continues as Ki-tae sends the signed divorce papers from Eun-soo directly to Soo-hyun. Returning to his empty house, Soo-hyun is a hollow shell of a man. His life has completely unraveled. His biological son is dead, and now his wife is leaving him. Everywhere he looks in the quiet rooms, he sees ghosts of the warm, happy memories they once shared. Overwhelmed, he whispers an apology to Eun-soo and decides he will move out the very next day. Drinking heavily to numb the pain, he begins to hallucinate, seeing the shadow of his younger self. In his blurred state, he cries out, begging for forgiveness and wanting to explain everything to Eun-soo. Unexpectedly, Eun-soo actually returns home. In a moment of raw vulnerability, Soo-hyun finally cracks open the secrets he has carried for a lifetime. He confesses the truth, that his own father was the killer, and he details the events of the past that have haunted him ever since. Eun-soo breaks down in tears as the man she loves finally lets her in. Realizing they still care for each other, Soo-hyun tells her he doesn't want the divorce, and the two cling to each other, sobbing in reconciliation. Meanwhile, Suk-hun makes a copy of the original documents, locks them safely in a cabinet, and prepares to leave the office. He bumps into his closest subordinate, telling him he'll be back shortly to finish the report. He sends a frantic warning text to Soo-hyun. Ki-tae has another plan. Be careful. Late into the night, Eun-soo sits in her office, staring at her architectural models in deep thought. When Soo-hyun wakes up the next morning, she is still fast asleep. He leaves a gentle note saying he's going out to buy groceries to cook them a real meal. Back at the mansion, Ki-tae's expression is grim as he prepares to unleash his ultimate weapon. He instructs his assistant to finish the job and then flee the country for a few years. Director Choi, meanwhile, confronts Yeo-jin at the news station. He gets straight to the point. On the night Jun-young died, wasn't Yeo-jin scheduled to meet the anchorwoman? Furthermore, she had been at the Sun Trang estate. Choi knows that if this is confirmed, it will provide a perfect alibi for the anchorwoman, proving she was nowhere near Jun-young and didn't drug him. Yeo-jin, realizing Choi is likely recording the conversation, refuses to help. She won't risk her political future for a scandal-ridden anchor. In a move that shocks the nation, Ki-tae calls a massive press conference and surrenders to the public. He announces that he will personally expose the secret slush funds and the original documents detailing illegal political financing. But mid-speech, his assistant whispers something in his ear that leaves the chairman visibly stunned. At the police station, Suk-hun's heart drops. He discovers the original files have vanished from his locked cabinet. He immediately confronts his close subordinate, realizing the man is Ki-tae's mole. The subordinate fires back, accusing Suk-hyun of being just as corrupt for leaking intel to Soo-hyun during the investigation. The two have a bitter fallout. Soo-hyun sees the news and is baffled why would Ki-tae surrender and go public instead of destroying the evidence? Suk-hyun is equally confused about why Ki-tae dragged him into the kidnapping case in the first place. Then, the truth hits Suk-hyun. The favor Ki-tae wants him to repay is to help cover up a secret to save Eun-soo. Soo-hyun realizes this as well, but when he rushes home, Eun-soo is gone. She left a letter for him and Yeon-woo, confessing that she was used to living a life built on lies. But hearing Soo-hyun's truth made her realize she could no longer live with her own deceptions. As Soo-hyun looks at one of Eun-soo's architectural models, his eyes fix on something out of place, a strange, tiny model car hidden inside. When he pries open the trunk of that model car, Soo-hyun's jaw hits the floor. Inside, he finds a miniature figure of a young boy lying on top of a bag. This takes us back to the day Jun-young and Yeon-woo had their big confrontation. Jun-young had blurted out the truth that he was actually Soo-hyun's biological son. Eun-soo had just walked into the house and heard the entire revelation. In reality, she had known this secret for a long time, but she was desperate to keep Yeon-woo from ever finding out. Eun-soo tried to stop Jun-young and ordered him to go home, but Jun-young refused to leave his biological father's house. Instead, he lashed out, saying Yeon-woo was the real outsider, that he wasn't Eun-soo's son, nor was he Soo-hyun's. Losing her cool, a panicked Eun-soo tried to grab Jun-young, causing the boy to scramble backward in fear. Suddenly, tragedy struck. An unlatched gate in the balcony railing behind him gave way, and Jun-young plummeted from the upper floor. Shockingly, Eun-soo didn't lift a finger to save him. Somewhere deep down, she had been wishing for Jun-young to disappear for a long time, and now, a freak accident had ended his life. Yeon-woo, witnessing the horror, completely lost his mind and spiraled out of control. Right at that moment, Soo-hyun's brother arrived at the house and saw the entire nightmare unfolding. The brother stepped in to help Eun-soo cover it up. He moved Jun-young's body into the trunk of a car and drove it to a desolate area to dump it. The truth finally hit Soo-hyun like a freight train. He never imagined his wife could deceive him for so long. In a fit of blind rage and agony, Soo-hyun smashes all the architectural models to pieces, completely breaking down and screaming at the top of his lungs. He realizes that on that fateful night, he was the one driving the very car that carried Jun-young's lifeless body. For a biological father, this realization is an unbearable torture. Detective Suk-hyun arrives just in time to try and calm the shattered Soo-hyun, but Yeon-woo has also just walked in and hears everything. He is devastated to hear Soo-hyun openly admit that Jun-young was truly his own son. Meanwhile, the prosecutor questions Ki-tae on why he suddenly decided to turn himself in. Ki-tae's mind drifts back to Eun-soo. At that time, she was on the brink of a total breakdown and ready to confess everything. Terrified of losing his daughter and grandson to the law, Ki-tae surrendered himself to serve as their shield. Of course, he can't let this truth leak out, so he simply tells the prosecutor he is too tired to talk and will finish later. Later, Ki-tae hears that Eun-soo's condition is deteriorating, leaving him deeply worried. Soo-hyun storms in, demanding to know where Eun-soo is hiding, but the old man refuses to give her up. Ki-tae actually has the nerve to scold Soo-hyun, blaming his pettiness for ruining a plan that had been perfectly arranged to protect the family. But Soo-hyun is relentless. He vows to find his wife and investigate every single detail until the full truth is exposed. His defiance nearly sends Ki-tae into a cardiac arrest from pure rage. In a final, venomous strike, Ki-tae tells Soo-hyun that if he is so obsessed with the truth, he should go find out how his own father really died. He drops a massive bombshell. His father didn't just disappear, he was murdered. He claims Soo-hyun's mother hid the horrific truth all these years just to protect him. Soo-hyun stands there in shock, refusing to believe a single word of it. Ki-tae looks at Soo-hyun with disdain, telling him he is a man who has spent his entire life living in a fog of ambiguity. He cold-bloodedly demands that Soo-hyun stop looking for Eun-soo and simply return Yeon-woo to the estate. As he leaves, every word of Ki-tae's verbal assault cuts Soo-hyun to the bone because deep down, he knows the old man is right. Today is also the day the mistress's son is set to flee the country. But first, he pays one last visit to his mother in prison. She tells him to bury the past, but a horrifying flashback reveals what really happened. That night, the son was the one who hit Kim with his car. Kim was still clinging to life, and the son wanted to call an ambulance, but the mistress stopped him. She knew that if the accident went public, their claim to the inheritance would vanish instantly. Because she chose money over a human life, Kim died from neglect. They hid his body in the underground wine cellar, stuffed inside a red wine cabinet. When Ki-tae found out, he moved quickly to cover their tracks. He ordered his assistant to ditch the son's car and use Soo-hyun's vehicle instead. It was then that Ki-tae realized his son was utterly worthless. So he decided to get rid of both Kim's body and the original documents in one move. The web of deception goes even deeper. While the brother was busy dumping Jun Young's body, it was the assistant who knocked Soo-hyun unconscious at the abandoned house. He stole Soo-hyun's car keys, stuffed Kim's lifeless body into the trunk, and planted the forged suicide note to make it look like Kim had taken his own life out of guilt. Now Ki-tae lies alone in a hospital bed. Despite being under investigation, his status as a titan of industry keeps the police at a distance. As he stares at the ceiling, he finally understands his son's parting words. He is destined to die a lonely, miserable death. Meanwhile, the anchorwoman stands trial for child abuse. In a stunning display of cold honesty, she confesses to the judge that on the day her son died, she was only focused on her own future. She admits she didn't truly care about her son's death, and she tells the court she is ready to accept whatever punishment they hand down. Outside the courtroom, the stepdaughter waits, consumed by an inner terror. A flashback reveals the final piece of that night's puzzle. It wasn't the mistress's son driving the car that hit Kim, it was the stepdaughter herself. After being cleared of the murder charges, Hwang is seen at home, casually polishing his leather shoes. He's already plotting his next move, planning to use his wrongful arrest to garner sympathy and win more votes in the upcoming election. His wife is equally triumphant. She's about to be named a director of the group. How did she pull it off? She held the ultimate ace in her hand. She had snapped a photo on the night of the crime, showing the mistress and her son dragging Kim's body into the basement. She used that photo to blackmail Ki-tae into giving her everything she wanted. Yeo-jin also successfully takes her post as the Blue House spokesperson thanks to Ki-tae's backing, but she knows a debt of blood to a man like him always has to be paid back eventually. In the final moments, Soo-hyun is seen praying in a church, begging for God to forgive his sins. He feels completely lost on his path to justice. Detective Suk-hun finds him there and delivers the final, tragic news. They found Eun-soo, but she is currently brain dead. Soo-hyun turns to leave, but he refuses to take the paper with the address of her hospital. He is too consumed by guilt and shame to look his wife in the eye. Suk-hun watches him go, simply hoping that Soo-hyun can eventually find the answers he is looking for in life. As Soo-hyun walks out of the church and looks back at the path he has taken, he realizes that life is nothing more than a cruel, unsolvable puzzle. And that is the end of the story. Thank you all for watching.